Welcome to the show, everybody. This is LTMB Live. Let the madness begin. It is Tuesday, July 16th, 2019. Glad to be here with everybody. We're broadcasting live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Yeah, Periscope Live. What's up, everybody? Lots to talk about today. Much about pretty much one subject. That's been a controversy ever since this weekend. But we're gonna get to that. But yeah, how you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good, man. A little disappointed though in LTMB. Got to call ourselves out because we dropped the ball. Normally when we close the show out, you always ask what's going on during the weekend, right?
That's true.
And we didn't inform anyone about Area 51 storming. Yeah. We didn't let Muggs know, man, so we dropped the ball. We apologize.
Yeah, that's
true.
What I'm
saying?
The big event.
The big event, man.
Yeah.
We didn't let everybody know, man. We didn't do our job in spreading the word that was going down.
Because we are the source of information.
Exactly, man. We're supposed to keep people informed about these important,
right.
very, 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 very important issues, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because obviously storming Area 51 to figure out whether they're aliens or not is of the utmost importance.
Yeah, is there anything more important?
There's nothing more important than just finding out whether aliens exist. Because as soon as we find out aliens exist, poof, all of the problems go away, bro. All of the issues that we talk about every day will go away. We will see the light now. Yeah. We will say, see, the government's been hiding this. Now what's next?
Oh boy. Yeah, drop the ball there. But yeah, so we have a few things to talk about tonight. I think we will officially have an dummy of the day return. We've talked about many dummies in this period of time. I don't know when the last time we actually did a official dummy of the day, but we've talked about a lot of dummies. But this one story in Alabama. But we're gonna get to that in a little bit. Of course, major story, major controversy, major conflict between the squad and President Donald Trump. So let's just dive right into it. This weekend, I believe it was on Sunday, President Donald Trump tweeted out some things, and it was directed at the representatives, the United States representatives, Democratic representatives that are known as the squad. So the squad consists of AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, and also Ilhan Omar as well, of course. They have been they've been making a lot of noise since they've been elected to Congress. Of course, they're all freshmen, United States representatives. And we've kind of briefly talked about, especially AOC, her fight with notably Nancy Pelosi recently. Different times, Nancy Pelosi seems to have come at her and, other, I guess, members of this unofficial squad. And it seems that she has way more criticism for them than anybody else. So, like I said, that's been going on in the background. It's been somewhat of a story. I don't know if it's been a major story, but it has been a narrative. Donald Trump kind of inserted himself into this conversation with these tweets. So let's just get right to it. So it's a series of 3 tweets that Donald Trump posted onto Twitter. The first one reading, "So interesting to see progressive Democratic congresswomen who originally came from countries whose governments are a complete and total catastrophe, the worst, most corrupt and inept anywhere in the world, if they even have a functioning government at all, now loudly and viciously telling the people of the United States, the greatest and most powerful nation on earth, how our government is to be run. Why don't they go back and help fix the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came? Then come back and show us how it is done. These places need your help badly. You can't leave fast enough. I'm sure that Nancy Pelosi would be very happy to quickly work out free travel arrangements." Almost as quickly as he was able to type these words, the criticism began. And it's just been mounting up or just been snowballing ever since Sunday. So it's been described as racist, which I agree. It's been described as xenophobic, which I agree. It's been described as bigoted, which I definitely agree. These are not new types of ideas that we've heard.
I think it should be an important part of the conversation. We don't want to get, I guess, caught up in the moment. We don't want to be prisoners of the moment or prisoners of the person.
Right.
Because essentially what this boils down to is, if you don't like it, leave.
Yes.
That's a standard issue, conservative right-wing talking point.
Oh, yeah.
That's not new. So even though Trump should be condemned and people should call out Trump for how toxic it is and racist and nativist, and call him out for how he's pretty much devaluing these women, we have to understand that this sentiment is not new.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to get just caught up in just focusing on this one guy, just, Trump. And I know a lot of the people in the media have been.
Yeah, well, he's the story right now.
He's the story.
Because he's the latest one, and especially, of course, somebody with his stature, with his position, being the top executive in the country, of course, is going to carry some weight, his words. So that's why it is such a big story. But like we've been saying, it's definitely not new.
It should be expanded.
Yeah, it should
talk about how there are millions and millions, upwards of probably 50 million people who hold that same sentiment that, if you don't like it, leave the country.
I remember Colin Kaepernick, the whole talk about Colin Kaepernick, and that's just recent. I mean, it happens time and time again on a low level, on a very high level. But with Colin Kaepernick, that was the same narrative. Hey, this guy hates the country, he's un-American, he's not patriotic at all, leave the country. Same thing, all right? The thing about it is that, you can go back into time. You can go back centuries and you can find this type of narrative, this type of, very bigoted language. I would say, though, it may have at one point or at different points in history may have been thrown at people that would be labeled white. In the last, I know at least in modern times, this century, probably even the last century, it's been thrown at people of color.
Now, why do you think that kind of sentiment has been thrown in that direction? As far as over the last 100 years, what has been occurring mostly over the last 100 years. Kind of.
Well, what's been occurring. I mean, this country is a country of immigrants. That's
Correct.
one.
Yeah.
But the country in general is getting a little bit less white, a little bit more brown.
Social activism.
Yes.
That contributes to, changing of laws, granting people more rights.
That's right.
Specifically minorities and women.
Progress.
But specifically minorities. That is frowned upon by those in this country that don't want to see it change. And that's not just President Trump and, I guess, Republican representatives, because they represent millions of people.
The decrease of white babies being born. There's a lot of things that contribute to that type of mentality. But again, it's always thrown on people of color. I don't think in modern times, this century or before, I don't think I've heard it being thrown at somebody white. It's always thrown at somebody of color. So you really do have to ask yourself, why is it only thrown on these people of color? If this isn't a racist statement made by Trump and others, then why is the target always somebody of color?
But see, it doesn't even make sense, because we have to look at why the sentiment was expressed in the first place. And that's because these 4 congresswomen have a different idea about what the United States should be doing in regard to certain issues, right? But that's actually no different than any congressperson, actually, or any person that is employed by the government to represent their city or their state, right? That's the point of running for office, is to try to change something. So all representatives, no matter what party they're in, no matter how they look, what their ethnicity is, they run for government to change something, right? So I could say that for any representative. You don't like it, leave. Why are you running for office?
Yes.
So the fact that that can be applied to anyone, but is specifically applied to certain people, tells me it's not just about disagreeing with what the country is doing. It's about disagreeing with a particular ideology.
Right. It's not really about the politics at this point.
No.
It's not about the ideology. It's not about any of that. It's about the certain type of people that you're targeting. Every single campaign, like Mike was saying, every single campaign is a complaint. Every single run.
A grievance.
Yes. Every single run for president is a complaint.
Every Republican has a grievance. That's why they run. Every Democrat has a grievance. That's why they run. Every Green Party, Independent, whatever, Libertarian.
MAGA is one big complaint about the state of affairs of the United States of America.
Why did Trump run? Why did Trump run in the first place?
He complained consistently about the previous administration, Obama. He complained time and time and time again about the way things were being run in the United States of America. So much so that he felt the need to run for president.
Now, when most people have their disagreements with Trump or anybody on his side, the standard issue talking point is not just leave.
No, it is not.
So why isn't that the case? So, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? Because it really doesn't make logical sense here. Because everybody's been saying, oh, it's not racist, which it is, because this is like birtherism 2.0 to me.
It is.
But the logic behind it simply doesn't make sense. And the logic behind it doesn't make sense that it's about something else. It's about certain people not being valued enough to even have a criticism of the United States. The reason why their criticism of the United States gets on certain people's nerves, primarily people who are conservative and on the right, is because they don't view them as valuable enough as members of society. They don't view their personhood valuable enough to criticize this country. That's what that's about.
It is. Because I could say it is about their ideas as well, but again, it's not about ideology. That could be one of the aspects of it, because of course, these particular women that are in the United States Congress, they do appeal for a government that actually represents us all. They do appeal for a government that takes care of the people that have been, suffering through, poverty-stricken areas and situations for, many, many years. So it is about the policies per se, but that's, again, you have a lot of white people that advocate for that as well. You have a Bernie Sanders that advocates for those policies that will rectify these issues. But you don't hear anybody saying, hey, Bernie Sanders, go back to where you came from. I mean, if you did, it would still be, it would be something. But Bernie Sanders, again, even though he is Jewish, I believe a lot of people, believe that he's white. I mean, they would claim that he is white. You just wouldn't hear that thrown at somebody who appears to be white. You just don't hear it. You hear it thrown at people of color, and these particular members of Congress are definitely women of color. They're freshman lawmakers. They definitely have a voice, and a lot of people don't like that, especially racists, especially bigots, like President Donald Trump. So we're going to get to a lot of this fallout. We're going to get to a lot of the comments being made after these tweets were put out there by Donald Trump. First, I guess we can go to the Republicans that... There were a few Republicans that I guess had the courage to say that these words were racist. There weren't many of them. There definitely weren't many of them. One was Senator Joni Ernst, who is a Republican from Iowa. She was asked if Trump's comments were racist, and she said pretty plainly, yeah, they're American citizens. So that's about as plainly as you can get.
That's about as plain as you can get. Again, even if you don't even say, like, it's racist,
yeah,
it's completely illogical.
Yeah.
It's completely illogical. Even taking race out of it, it's completely illogical, and you can't defend it simply because 3 or 4 of them were born here. 3 out of 4. And the other one, Ilhan Omar, she's been here for 23 years,
yes,
and she became a citizen in like 2000. 2000. You know when Melania became a citizen? 2006. And that was because she married Donald Trump. So Ilhan Omar has been a citizen longer than Donald Trump's wife.
So also Joni Ernst, she said that Trump's words were, quote, not constructive and, quote, not helpful. She also added about how we need to debate policy positions. It should be about policy. It should be about her thinking that the GOP has a stronger platform, blah, blah, blah. Of course, Republicans are going to do that political, kind of, hey, let's position ourselves. Let's really, let's stay within the issues that we need to stay in so that we can make this country better, blah, blah. I don't care about that.
Yeah, let's not be, like, rhetorically demonstrative. Let's not be, like, openly toxic.
Yeah.
Let's not be openly bigoted. Let's just be bigoted through our policies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, in other words. Who else had something to say? Representative Justin Amash, the former Republican from Michigan. We've talked about him once or twice. This was the only Republican that had professed that Trump needed to be impeached. That because of the Mueller report, things that came out from that report. There was enough information there, enough evidence there that warranted impeachment for Trump. He has since left the Republican Party, and I guess he is now independent. But he called the comments, quote, racist and disgusting. Representative Mike Turner, he called let's see where we got here. Yeah, on Twitter, he said, I am confident that every member of Congress is a committed American. Donald Trump's tweets from this weekend were racist, and he should apologize. We must work as a country to rise above hate, not enable it. Also, Representative Will Hurd from Texas, he called the comments racist and xenophobic on CNN. And also former White House communications director Anthony Scaramucci, he tweeted, would Donald Trump ever tell a white immigrant, whether first, second, third, or fourth generation, to go back to your country? No, that's why the comments were racist and unacceptable. America is a nation of immigrants founded on the ideals of free thought and free speech. Now, these were the only ones. And I didn't search far and wide for maybe all the comments. These were all the comments that...
condemning.
Yeah, that were condemning. That were
challenging Trump.
Trump, but were specifically calling the comments racist, xenophobic, bigoted. There were other comments that were condemning of the language that he used without actually calling it racist or not. But the comments that we did just go over, they came well after that Sunday where Donald Trump had actually posted those comments onto Twitter. Some of them took a full day, even more. Anthony Scaramucci's tweet was today, on Tuesday. So it took a while for them to actually say anything. Again, they did come out and say something. And again, they got it right. They said it was racist, xenophobic, whatever. So I'm not going to, condemn them or criticize them for, I guess too much for, waiting for so long. It should have came right away. It didn't, but they got it right. There were some others, though, that said that these comments were not racist. So one is House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. He said that Trump's comments were not racist before adding, here we go here. Let's see, where do I got him here? Well, here we go. All right. He said, I believe this is about ideology. This is about socialism versus freedom. And it's very clear what the debate is happening.
Again, that is really a nonsensical answer.
It is.
If it's about a debate, fine. Cool. And first of all, the debate is fallacious anyway. Yeah. But since he said it
versus freedom,
socialism versus, he's kind of juxtaposing like two things together for the purpose of characterizing socialism as not freedom.
Right.
But if it's about a debate, cool.
Yeah, like, we have no problem with it.
We have no problem with the debate.
Let's debate the issues. Cool.
That's not the problem. Because this is actually Trump not debating the issues. This is
ending the debate. This is saying we don't want to debate you. Go wherever you came from. To another country.
To another country. So I don't know how you... that's essentially a justification of his comments. It's pretty much ignoring all of his tweets put together. But yeah, again, it doesn't even matter if you don't see it as racist. It doesn't make sense because one of Trump's tweets said something like telling the American people how to run the country, the greatest country in the world. I'm just thinking, I'm like, wait a second. They're members of Congress. Their jobs are to assess and direct government operations. Mm-hmm. So yes, they're actually doing their job. So it doesn't even make sense. And two, there are people within their state that are tasked with fixing the problems in their state, or even in the districts within their state. That's not their job. They're supposed to represent their districts federally.
Right.
So I just don't get that. So again, logically, it doesn't make sense. Logically, you can't defend it. Even if you say it's not racist, it essentially doesn't make sense. And honestly, now that I think about it, I'm not so sure that he issued that tweet or these tweets by himself.
I wouldn't go that far because you, just like you said, it doesn't make sense. But racism is not supposed to make sense.
What I'm saying is, I'm not saying he didn't issue them. I'm saying he may have had some help issuing these things because
it's stupid enough for him to do.
It's stupid enough for him to do, but I think he may have had help because here's the thing. I know there's a lot of like super woke people that says this is just a distraction or whatever, but I was like, no, this is not a distraction. It may be a distraction for Trump personally to distract away from his, scandals, his unstable administration, and his own ineptitude. He has to create enemies. He does that. He has to create enemies. That's a strategy. I think it's a campaign strategy. I think this is a campaign strategy, and he's just targeting these individuals as kind of a testament to that campaign strategy. He's just using this situation to do that. That's why I don't think it's a distraction. I also don't think it's a distraction because of what we talked about before, because this sentiment is not a new thing. This sentiment is not new. This sentiment doesn't come specifically from Trump, and only from Trump.
But it does come, like, when you hear something like this uttered, it is usually not by somebody that holds some type of position like Trump. Even somebody with a lesser position like a mayor, a governor, a representative, a senator. Usually you don't hear those words come from these type of people because oftentimes they know that they have to represent everybody. And they can't have the perception that they are not representative of everybody, that they have some type of bias, like they have some type of prejudice towards a certain type of people. If you say something like this, which again, everybody that has lived, everybody that is alive right now and is an adult, They know when you hear these words, it is thrown at people of color. And it's thrown at people of color for a particular reason. Like you said, it's meant to devalue them. It's meant to say that you don't even belong here in the first place if you're not just going to do as we do and celebrate our country. No, actually, you can't do as we do. We are allowed to criticize our country and not say, get the hell out of here. But you cannot do that because you don't belong here anyways.
Isn't that telling right there? Isn't that telling? Because a lot of people are expressing or filtering their patriotism through Donald Trump.
Yes.
Especially if you follow him on all his social media accounts. There are people who was like, oh, he's saying what needed to be said. That's right, our president. And I'm just like, man. And I think he's counting on those people. He's counting on his base to get him through this 2020 election. And quite frankly, there's people who are invested in Trump unconditionally. And I do believe that no matter what he does or says or how much they're screwed, they'll still vote for him. And so he's counting on that.
The one problem with this approach, and if it is a political approach, which it definitely might be, the one problem with this is that he may not have the luxury of going up against somebody as toxic as Hillary Clinton. That's the one thing about this situation. Hillary Clinton had unfavorable numbers, pretty much just on par with Donald Trump at the time. So that aided him in his win. So if he doesn't have that going for him, if he doesn't have somebody that he can cast as particularly toxic, like a Hillary Clinton, we've talked about Kamala Harris before. Kamala Harris doesn't have the track record as Hillary Clinton. There's some things about her, of course, we definitely do not like and can be criticized, but she definitely is not toxic in the same way that Hillary Clinton is. Actually, the whole field, excluding Joe Biden, the whole field of Democratic candidates are nowhere near on the same level of toxicity as Hillary Clinton.
And I think in 2016, Hillary Clinton's campaign wasn't counting on that toxicity affecting her in those swing states. They were just making a bet. Right. No, actually, the polls were right.
Yeah.
You can't say the polls were wrong because Donald Trump won. I mean, she got over 3 million more votes. Mm-hmm. It's just those swing states she lost. And I don't think they were counting on Clinton losing those swing states. They just miscalculated.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree with your point. He's not facing the same type of opponent. But, again, old dogs, man, they don't like to, learn new tricks, man. They do not like to learn new tricks. And he's trying to issue the same type of political strategy he did in 2016. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to work, not just because of Clinton, but because he's going to have a presidential track record to deal with. You see what I'm saying? Uh-huh. So that's another issue, too.
All right, so let's get to some other comments about this. Senator Lindsey Graham, who is the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, he appeared on Fox News recently, and he had some comments about who's known as the Squad. Actually, he particularly named AOC, but he had some words about this whole issue, this whole controversy.
We all know that AOC and this crowd are a bunch of communists. They hate Israel. They hate our own country. They're calling the guards along our border, the Border Patrol agents, concentration camp guards. They accuse people who support Israel of doing it for the Benjamins. They're anti-Semitic. They're anti-America. Don't get down. Aim higher. We don't need to know anything about them personally. Talk about their policies.
Senator, those tweets were negative?
I think they're American citizens who are duly elected that are running on an agenda that is disgusting, that the American people will reject. Talk about what it means for America to have free health care for illegal immigrants and no criminalization of coming into the country. See how that works for controlling immigration. Their ideas, they're anti-Semitic. They talk about the Israeli state if they're a bunch of thugs, not victims of the entire region. They wanted to impeach Trump on day one. They're socialist. They're anti-Semitic. They stand for all the things that most Americans disagree with. Make them the face of the future of the Democratic Party. Senator, you will destroy the Democratic Party.
It sounds like you're saying the president went too far with these tweets.
I just don't think you aim higher. You don't need to. They are American citizens. They won an election. Take on their policies. I talked to him a while ago. I said, you're a good commander-in-chief. ISIS has been destroyed. Our economy is humming. You're trying to get control of a broken immigration system. Their policies will destroy this country. Focus on what they want to do for America and to America and compare it with what you've done. Don't get personal. Don't take the bait.
Don't get personal.
Right.
Discuss policy. He kind of had this, he didn't say be above it all. He said be better. What did he say?
He just said go higher.
Go higher.
Yeah,
you mean like
higher,
calling someone anti-Semitic?
Yeah.
Calling someone a communist? Calling them anti-American? And then say go higher right after you say all that?
Reach higher.
Reach higher. Reach higher.
It doesn't make sense.
It really.
But first, actually, next we're going to show you a clip of The View. And the conservative on the show, Meghan McCain, she had some words about particularly Lindsey Graham. And of course she did because of her father. John McCain and Lindsey Graham were, best buds, very friendly, have been friendly for many years. Somebody that she obviously respected. So these words that she heard from Lindsey Graham, she did not like. So this is what she had to say about it.
And for me, as the conservative representative on this show, I was so upset coming back yesterday. I was in D.C. with my husband. I came back and I was like, because this is what people think all conservatives are now. And we are not.
It's not all.
But I will say,
yeah.
To go out at ladies, have a free-for-all, the cowardice I'm seeing, Republicans not speaking out and saying it today is embarrassing.
Thank you. Bravo.
The silence is deafening.
You know what? All of you, have at it. Seriously, all of you go crazy. It's deeply cowardly.
Republican leadership
Yes.
is disgraceful
I have
right
nothing
now.
for this.
And let's
I have
just
nothing
look,
for this.
If you see these clips of before Lindsey Graham, before he was supporting Trump, and after, you'll understand what we're talking about.
Oh, you know what we're talking about.
He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. He doesn't represent my party. He doesn't represent the values that the men and women who wear the uniform are fighting for.
Yeah, I know, but
And
so
then-
did Kazir Khan when he wore the uniform and died, and he wasn't born here either. So I can't do this right now.
Yeah.
And whatever is happening to Lindsey, this is not the person I used to know.
Lindsey Graham in 2015, when he was calling Trump a race baiter, has had a favorability of around 16% in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Since he has joined forces with the president, the racist in chief, his approval rating amongst Republicans is now 74%. This is
What
why,
does that say?
This is why he's doing it.
So something either changed about Trump or something changed about Lindsey Graham.
Well, see, if you go back in history, though, I think we see the same Donald Trump that we saw back in history.
Okay, so what you're saying is something changed about Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, in 2015, you saw the
Strong
'cause
words.
I remember
Strong
race
words.
baiter.
You say he's not a
Xenophobic.
conservative?
Yeah,
He's not a
doesn't
conservative?
represent my party.
Not a Christian? He actually tweeted about that too.
Yes, he had a lot of
He's a con
very,
man.
very criticizing words for one Donald Trump.
So Donald Trump must have turned over a new leaf since then.
Oh no, I think Donald Trump has just exposed more of himself. But now that he's the president, Lindsey Graham is okay with that.
Oh, so he got to kiss the ring now.
Yeah, he got to kiss the ring. He got to kneel down and kiss the ring, no doubt. And look, pretty much everything we'll probably disagree with Meghan McCain on.
Oof. But this?
But on this, her saying that this is not the same Lindsey Graham that, she knows, and she's very, I guess, disheartened by his remarks. I agree. This is not the same Lindsey Graham that was back in 2015, the same one that was running for president, and the same one that had very, very disparaging things to say about Donald Trump.
But unfortunately, people show who they are during certain time periods, during
yes.
certain situations.
Yeah.
So he is actually showing who he is. It's just that Meghan didn't see it at the time.
Right.
He is actually showing who he is.
This is
He has no backbone.
This is party over country.
Party over country.
Usually people say country over party, right? No, this is party over country. This is, Donald Trump with the same agenda as the Republican Party does. He does it in a different way stylistically. He does it in a different way verbally. But they're cool with that now he's president. Before, when they were all running, when there was a host of Republican contenders and they were all trying to battle Trump for that nomination, I guess they were real then, right? I guess they were real about their contempt for one Donald Trump. But now, like you said, he has the ring. It's time to kneel down.
One thing that I do disagree with her on, though, is that she is kind of feeling some type of way about how conservatives are perceived, and it's just not fair because so many of the representatives are kind of issuing these talking points and taking these positions that make conservatives / Republicans look a certain type of way. Xenophobic, bigoted, racist, corrupt.
It's been happening for a minute.
It's been happening for a minute.
Yeah.
So she's mad that this is the way conservatives and this is the way the right wing is viewed. And they are representative of the right wing and conservatives. I'm sorry, Meghan. They are. They are. And they run the country. Yeah. And they're in power now. So what does that say about conservatives?
And like you said before, it's not just their words too. It's given to the American people in their policies as well. It doesn't have to be just in their rhetoric in which they offend people. Their policies offend people as well.
And think about how contradictory Lindsey Graham's words are. On one hand, he says like, "Oh, most Americans don't, agree with, their views." Blah blah blah. Well, they're duly elected. I'm like, that to me doesn't make sense. The districts that they represent, have a population, all of their districts have a population of over 700,000. More than the combined state populations of Wyoming, Vermont, Alaska, and North Dakota. So the squad represents millions of voters. And they don't just have Twitter followers, you know what I'm saying? They have districts that have roughly equal the population of Nancy Pelosi's, right? So it's like for Lindsey Graham to act like they don't have support or represent a group of people, represent Americans that do agree with their agenda is just completely false.
It's interesting how, they have so much of a voice in this country. They have so much of a voice, but they're not supported by people. That's the narrative that's being thrown around by somebody like Lindsey Graham and others. They are the minority. They don't really speak for a lot of people. Well, like you said, first of all, they're duly elected. They got they got to the United States Congress, and it seems as though their voice carries. So I wouldn't be so sure that they don't have a real effect in this country. But let's get to some more words by Donald Trump, okay? So that was not all by Donald Trump, those tweets. Of course, he had to say something else about them. He had to defend them in some type of way. He's not going to apologize for offensive remarks or anything like that. No, he's going to defend them at all costs. So this was, I believe, Monday at the White House, where there was an event going. And, of course, reporters were there and asked him to, I guess, further go into the comments that he made on Twitter. So there's two videos. This is the first one.
All I'm saying is, if they want to leave, they can leave, John. They can leave. I mean, I look at Omar. I don't know. I never met her. I hear the way she talks about Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda has killed many Americans. She said, you can hold your chest out. You can, when I think of America, when I think of Al-Qaeda, I can hold my chest out. When she talked about the World Trade Center being knocked down, some people, you remember the famous some people. These are people that, in my opinion, hate our country. Now, you can say what you want, but get a list of all of the statements they've made. And all I'm saying that if they're not happy here, they can leave. They can leave, and you know what? I'm sure that there'll be many people that won't miss them. I see them complaining. They're complaining constantly. I watched Lindsey Graham today on Fox and Friends talking about the same subject, and frankly, even stronger than what I'm saying. He said they're communists. I'm saying that they're socialists, definitely, As to whether or not they're communists, I would think they might be, but this isn't what our country is about. Nevertheless, they're free to leave if they want. And if they want to leave, that's fine. And if they want to stay, that's fine. But the people have to know. And politicians can't be afraid to take them on.
Yo, it's complete nonsense. I was gonna say the bulk of his remarks, but in its entirety, it's completely ridiculous. Nobody, first of all, when you're saying that they can leave, see, if they want to leave, they can leave. When you say that, that kind of suggests that they raised the idea that they wanted to leave because things were so bad here in the United States of America. They did no such thing. No, you told them they should go back to their home countries. That's what you said. They didn't like say, hey, you know what? Things are so bad here. You know what I'm saying? I can't take anymore. Trump, you got any advice? They didn't say that at all. And he's straight lying about Representative Ilhan Omar. He said that she is, I guess, quoted or whatever. He saw her saying something about how she talked about Al Qaeda with some reverence, you know. But about America, no. She, stick your chest out for Al Qaeda. That comes from. There was a story that she told, and this was years ago. All right, there was a story she told about a professor, and actually the whole situation, like she was talking to I believe a reporter, and again this was years ago, and she was talking about how the subject came around like Al Qaeda. Why is that not translated in English? It's Al Qaeda. It's not translated for English, And so they were talking about how like Al Qaeda it carries more like weight, when you say Al Qaeda, like it's like a bigger type of phrase. If you translate it into English, it wouldn't carry the same type of weight. And so she harkened back to a professor that she knew, of course, and he was talking about how. Well, she was talking about how every time he said Al Qaeda, he would like lift up his shoulders. And she said, like, when you say that about a different country, if you say England, if you say America, if you say any other country, you don't do that. But with Al Qaeda, it was like, he would like raise up his shoulders. That's what she said. She didn't even say the professor talked about Al Qaeda in a glowing manner, in like a favorable manner.
Talking about linguistics.
Yes.
It was about linguistics.
That's all it was. And this dude is straight lying at the White House. Now, we know that he lies consistently, but coming off of a situation where he is racist, where he is bigoted, where he is xenophobic, where he's telling people of color to leave the country because they criticize the country the same way that he always does. When you're coming off a situation like that and you defend yourself by lying about one of those members of Congress, people of color, lying about how they profess some type of love for Al Qaeda and not for the United States of America, you're even more disgusting, man.
I used to tone police or kind of, I don't know, like get myself to behave in some sort of respectable way as far as respectability politics. Mm-hmm. When people, say things like you hate the United States. I get that a lot, especially on social media. They find out the positions I have. I get the same thing. Mm-hmm. You want to destroy America. You're unpatriotic. And at first I always I fought against that. But then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna own that. Because technically, if you do want to see some kind of change, if you do want to see the country change directions, you do want to destroy America. You want to destroy something or some kind of policy, or you want to destroy some type of suffering or behavior. You want to destroy something that this country is doing that I guess doesn't speak to people's, worth. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I kind of embrace that. So if somebody says, you want to destroy the country, I say, you know what? I do. I do want to destroy the country because there's certain things that shouldn't exist in this country. At one point, slavery was legal. And fighting to abolish slavery would be considered anti-American. Right. You wanted to destroy the country. Fighting for voting rights for black people or women, you can say that is an attempt to destroy the country because you're trying to you're trying to destroy a policy. You're trying to destroy attitude, destroy a mindset, destroy a way of life to build another one or to construct another one. So I kind of embrace that. And I do think more people should embrace it, because this idea behind pride, meaning that you can't criticize the country, is very toxic. And, people get caught up in this patriotic rhetoric, and they actually tell on themselves, because if trying to build a more equitable society, an equal society, is considered trying to destroy America, what are they saying about America?
True. So this is the second clip of this event at the White House where Trump is responding to questions. In this one, he responds to a question about how white supremacists are supporting his message.
Does it concern you that many people saw that tweet as racist, and that white nationalist groups are finding common cause with you on that point?
It doesn't concern me, because many people agree with me. And all I'm saying, they want to leave, they can leave. Now, it doesn't say leave forever. It says leave if you want. But what it says, what that says is, if they're not happy with the United States, if they're doing nothing but criticizing us all the time, you see these people walking down criticizing the United States. We just hit the highest stock market in history. All of these incredible manufacturers that are in, these are great business people. They employ many people, and we have workers with us too. They're having the best year they've ever had. Can I say that? Is that a correct statement? So, and they're hiring more people than they've ever had, and more people are making a good living than they've ever had. We just hit 27,000 plus on the Dow. It's the highest the stock market has ever been. And you have to go by the election, because the market started going up the day after I won. They like to add all of that tremendous gain. They like to try and give it to Obama. The fact is, if I would have lost, the stock market would crash. And if these people that I watch in those debates ever got their hands on the United States government, 401ks, the values of your company, everything else that we talk about we're so proud of, it's down the tubes. People will lose their money. They'll lose their wealth. You'll have a crash like you've never seen before. And I'm really good at this stuff. I know what I'm talking about.
Now that was campaigning. That was definitely campaigning. The tweets, the original racist tweets, maybe so. But that was definitely campaigning. Because he said, actually he issued a threat. If you let any of the Democrats occupy the White House, your 401ks, gone. Pensions, gone. Money, gone. Stock market, down. Everything is gone. Everything goes to shit because I'm not here, because I know what I'm doing.
He did there, though. He actually, for a split second, he actually, gave Obama credit for the economy trending upward. And if you do look at the charts, obviously, I guess that's a general way of judging the economy. We go beyond that. But the charts that the government puts out shows the economy trending upward as far as employment and unemployment trending downward. He briefly mentioned that because he knows those charts exist.
He has to by now.
He has to by now. And so he can't acknowledge that he is riding a wave. So what he does is put out this theoretical, I guess, scenario saying, but, yes, Obama, it was going up during Obama. But see, I got in here and it stayed like that. And if I get put out of office, it's going to tank. I'm like,
it doesn't even make sense.
Really? Really?
And his gauge of success is the stock market. Now, I don't know about a lot of you. I don't own stock. Most people do not own stock. So how much better is your life financially because the stock market is up?
And
because the Dow Jones is doing so great.
And you know what? He went to that, right? Because he's saying that, hey, this thing right here is good, so you can't complain about anything else. That literally makes no sense. No. I guess having a good economy, whatever, if he says we have a good economy, let's just say we do, since that's his talking point. Does that mean that there are not other problems in the country that need to be addressed. They're not like these problems, and the economy being good is not like mutually exclusive. They can both happen at the same time.
Yes.
They can both happen at the same time. He's saying because the economy is good, that means you can't complain about anything else. Like that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Wait a second. So if the economy is good and people on the other side of the aisle can't complain right now, doesn't that mean people on his side of the aisle can't complain about anything that's going on in America too?
Doesn't he complain about the border a lot? He complains about the crisis at the border a lot. Somebody should tell him to go back to Germany.
Go back to Germany.
Yeah. Go back to Germany, Trump. Because you don't belong here because you're criticizing the United States of America.
Oh, like also conservatives and right-wing folks that are trying to take away access to abortion. I say, hey, why are you fighting about this? The economy is good. Why are you complaining about anything? Hey, our economy is good, right?
So Trump also, he also had something to say on Twitter too. I believe, and this was before this event. I should have shown it before, but this is what he said on Twitter. When will the radical left congresswomen apologize to our country, the people of Israel, and even to the office of the president for the foul language they have used and the terrible things they have said? So many people are angry at them and their horrible and disgusting actions.
So Trump wants an apology.
Yes, Trump deserves an apology after being a bigot, after being a racist and xenophobic. He deserves an apology.
He's calling them vile.
Yes, they are vile.
They are vile.
Yes.
Now, please tell me, how has he built and maintained his political career? How has he done that? Like
through being vile.
Being vile. Being demonstrative, being boastful, being hostile to anyone that disagrees with him.
Very disgusting, offensive, hateful, all of this, bigoted. That's his whole style. But these women need to apologize. Okay.
Simply because they don't co-sign his political agenda.
Yes, and they disagree. Yeah. So let's get to some more of this defense of Trump. Let's get to, So talking about politics, Newt Gingrich, who was the former Speaker of the House, he had some words about this. He thinks Trump is actually doing the right thing politically. He said, I think the president believes that the more he can get the country to look at the so-called squad, the more he can get them to realize how radical they are and how fundamentally un-American their views are. In the long run, the better off he is. So again, that speaks to, you talking about that this is a ploy here. This is a plot, a plan for his campaign. Again, I don't think he's going to have the benefit of having somebody as tainted as Hillary Clinton as his opponent.
He's trying to search, and I think that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to seek out like people who are tainted.
But they aren't running for president, though.
I mean, maybe that's a complementary strategy.
Yeah.
To where it's like he can now paint the whole party as being just like these four.
That ain't gonna work. The whole party?
You see,
I'm sorry, that's
what's
too
so
big.
funny?
That's too big.
You know what's so funny, yo? This will probably play into the hands of Democrats. Because we know the Democratic Party is not as progressive as these four.
True.
Do you see what I'm saying? So it's almost like I don't like that he's doing this, because then it's going to make the Democratic Party seem more progressive than they actually are, and might cause people to kind of, lean in that direction. So it might play into the Democrats' hands.
And see, there's another thing about this as well too. When you say these remarks, when you espouse these types of beliefs, these very hateful, divisive beliefs, who are you targeting? You already have the racist vote. You know what I'm saying? Most people did not like your words. Now, a lot of people, especially the Republicans that have political positions, a lot of them did not go so far as to say, yes, it was racist. But many of them said, no, they were inappropriate. He shouldn't have said them. That he's lobbing, these grenades at people. He shouldn't engage himself in this type of behavior. Those were the words that they spoke. So they were critical of the words that he spoke without saying that they're racist. But again, so it seems like people far and wide did not agree with his statements.
Hey.
So who are you targeting? Again, you already have that bigoted vote locked up.
We talked about this before the show, though, when we were going over the clips. What was his answer to that when the reporter asked him?
Yeah, that's right. His answer was, a lot of people agree with me. Because the reporter said, hey, these white nationalists, they're using your message, they're supportive of your message. What do you say to that? A lot of people agree with me, so I don't care.
Ooh, he just told on himself. He just told on himself. Right there. And it's like, there's so many layers to that, because not only does he kind of not care, he knows. He doesn't care.
He does know.
Because he knows exactly what type of sentiments and what kind of inclinations he is bringing about or bringing out of people.
Yeah.
Not only is the logic flawed, but this is a real bigoted and toxic character, because the logic he's using says, hey, if there are people who disagree with me, hey, I'm right. Like, whoa. There are people who disagree with a lot of vile and toxic, things. Ideas. And yeah, I was like, whoa.
All right, so we're going to get to some more of this fallout, right? So the acting director of the Citizenship and Immigration Services office, Ken Cuccinelli, he had an interview on CNN with Alison Camerota. Of course, this subject came up because, of course, anybody that's within this administration, anybody that's a Republican, they're going to be asked to respond. So he was asked to do so, and this is what he said.
I didn't see that tweet, actually. I can hear what you're reading, but I've spent the weekend reading litigation and regulatory materials related to asylum. So
sure, but now that you've heard it, what do you think of it?
I can see the president's commenting on some of the splits in the Democratic caucus in the House, presumably, but beyond that, I'm staying focused on trying to fix our asylum system.
Yeah.
We have a 300,000+ case backlog, and we have a crisis at the border, and we have a role to play at USCIS in fixing those things.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I guess that I just need to ask you, when he says to these U.S. congresswomen, all U.S. citizens, why don't they go back and help fix the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came? Do you see that as racist?
No, I see that as presumably, political hand grenades, but I wouldn't go that far. No,
but
certainly not.
Telling women of color to go back to the country
you've spent a lot of
from
time
which
on Twitter.
they came.
I've spent a lot of time doing an actual job where asylum is at risk, and where we're trying to process legal immigrants who are obeying our rules and to turn away the illegals who are fraudulently trying to use our
and I have
system.
a job to do as well, Director.
I understand.
But I'm not on Twitter, so I don't actually engage on Twitter.
I haven't been on Twitter in the last 24 hours either.
Understood.
So.
But now that I'm reading it to you, or just the concept of the President of the United States telling duly elected congresswomen of color to go back to where they came from, the countries that they came from. These are U.S. citizens. So you don't find that racist?
No.
So how do you explain it? How do you see it?
I don't. You're going to have to ask the president about that.
Director Cuccinelli, did my colleague Jake Tapper read you that tweet yesterday on
Yes,
the air?
he did.
So you have heard this tweet before, and you have had 24 hours to process it.
So what? So what? I told you I haven't been on Twitter in 24 hours. I'm not in there doing the Twitter war. I'm working on fixing an asylum system and trying to make our immigration system legal and vetting illegals work correctly. That's what I've been spending my time, including this weekend, doing.
Okay.
Not tweeting.
That's an L, dog. That's an L.
But see, isn't it easy to take L's when you have to constantly defend the indefensible? We talk about that in regard to Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Right, we do.
That's why she stopped having press conferences.
That's right.
How much can you do every day?
Because it's constant. It doesn't stop.
So why did he back himself into a corner?
He's like, well, I haven't seen that tweet.
I didn't see the tweets. I just saw it the first time. I was doing other stuff during the weekend. I was doing other stuff. But then,
got him.
like 30 seconds later, he just admitted, Jake Tapper let me know about the tweets.
That was the day before.
That was the day before.
He said, so what?
So what?
So what?
I'm caught. I'm caught. I don't care. You got me now.
So what? I'm busy doing other stuff. So what? So what?
You're busy tweeting. And I was like, yeah. See, when you're flustered, when you're flustered, you say ironic things.
Yeah, he looked very uncomfortable.
And the reason why it's ironic is because who uses Twitter the most?
Oh my.
I'm doing my job. I'm not on Twitter. I was like,
and he tried to get at her for doing it. He's like, I have an actual job. You're on Twitter. Okay. Again, we're talking about somebody else's words on Twitter, not hers.
Hers, exactly. We're talking about the president issuing comments on Twitter.
Yeah. So look, President Trump has made use of Twitter more so than any other president, more so than any other representative, senator. So we shouldn't pay attention to his words because they're on Twitter?
Okay. Here's my thing. If there was nothing wrong with what Trump said, because he didn't elaborate. He just said that they were political grenades.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, grenades blow things up.
Yep.
Grenades are dangerous.
He also said, they weren't racist comments.
They weren't racist.
But didn't explain why they weren't.
Okay, and that's fine. If he's not going to say, if he's not going to say it was racist, fine. But if you're going to say they are political grenades,
right,
you have to say how they are destructive.
Right.
Okay. That's, what I'm saying? I'm not fine with him saying they're not racist, but if you are going to say that and then follow that up by saying they're political grenades, you have to explain exactly how destructive they are. And my thing is, why would you lie about not seeing the tweets if you didn't think there was something wrong with it?
Oh, he didn't.
Why lie?
Because he wants to remove himself from this whole conversation. I don't want to talk about this.
That's why he said, so what? At that moment, he was like, damn it, you got me. And I don't care. You got
national
me.
TV, man. You're on national TV.
You're on national TV. And you know what? Like, something I wasn't thinking about, and something that, he brought up in the clip was about the crisis at the border and talking about improving the vetting process as if there hasn't been a vetting process. Like, this right-wing talking point, like, surrounding this issue or framing this issue around immigrants not being vetted is a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
There is a strict vetting process.
Yeah.
And if it was just about vetting, and if their rhetoric surrounded, hey, are these people, like, their applications or whatever, are they worthy to be over here? Do they meet the standards? If it just surrounded that, I probably would have less to say.
But that's not the conversation.
But that's not the conversation.
No.
You have to dehumanize these people. You have to characterize them as rapists, murderers, and bringing drugs in. So if it's just about an asylum process, or if it was just about vetting, just keep it on that. But we know that's not what it's about. That's why it's racist. Like, for instance, if I submit a college application, or if I submit an application to a job, or application for an internship, application anywhere, and it's just a vetting process to see if I'm qualified, see if I meet the standards. They're just gonna say, hey, yeah, man, this is not what we're looking for. You don't meet the standards. We do strict vetting, and you don't qualify. That's where it will stay. They don't. There's no need to say, hey, man, we think you're a murderer. We think you might bring drugs into our school. We think you're a rapist, and you'll take all of our resources. So we're not hiring you.
But see,
we're not letting you in.
But it's even worse than that, because see, that they don't even really care about the vetting process, because they don't even want these people to apply for asylum.
Exactly.
They're trying to even cut them off from even stepping onto U.S. soil to apply for asylum. It's not about the vetting process.
That's why his comments are bullshit, because we know that's what it's not about. And if it was about vetting, it would just stay there. The conversation would stay there. It wouldn't have to travel into these xenophobic, racist rants about how much crime and how they bring to the country and how they're infesting our nation.
So these are what we're going to get to now. These are some of the more ridiculous defenses of President Donald Trump's words. First is Representative Andy Harris, who is a representative from Maryland. He talked about Trump's comments in a radio interview with WBAL, and he stated, no, they're not. They're obviously not racist. But again, When anyone disagrees with someone, now the default is to call them racist, and this is no exception. He also added that Trump might have been telling the congresswomen to, quote, go back to the district they came from, end quote. He also said they all didn't come from foreign countries, so you'd have to presume that it was not a country Trump was referring to.
Then why did he say countries?
Yes, Trump, we already noted this.
He didn't say state, he didn't say district, he didn't say city, he said countries.
That was in the first tweet of Donald Trump's. He clearly said countries.
So what he's saying is Donald Trump doesn't know the difference between states and countries or cities and countries.
No. He knows. Again, this is just a ridiculous defense of the bigot, the racist Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to come out and say that it was bigoted. It was racist.
Now, looking at the ethnicity of, all these representatives, all minorities, and just looking at his statements about telling them to go back to the country and their countries and fix the problems and not worry about the United States. Mm-hmm. Like, what message is that sending? Especially seeing as all these women are minorities. What message is that sending? He essentially saying that, hey, this country can be criticized by white people. That's the standard. Like, they either white people or minorities, black people that uphold white supremacy or these kind of empirical attitudes about the United States involving their dominance. So yes, you can side with Trump and be black or a minority, but that's the only way he is accepting your point of view. If you have a different point of view, then he is not accepting it. And if you are black and you criticize the United States, that kind of racism rears its ugly head.
When he was campaigning to become the next president of the United States, and he was on that debate stage with Hillary Clinton, they disagreed with each other on many topics. I don't remember him ever say, Hillary Clinton, go back to where you originally came from. Once he became president, Nancy Pelosi is somebody that they always battling. They always are at each other's throats.
They've been in the octagon since he, got elected.
Yes, even we saw one of those matches in the Oval Office.
Chuck Schumer?
Exactly. They were both in the Oval Office, and they were over there arguing about the border and the wall and about the shutdown. It was on film. We saw it. We even talked about that here on this show. I don't remember during that argument or even after him saying about Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer, you need to go back to where you came from. Go back to the country where you came from. He didn't say that whatsoever. But here we're talking about women of color, and he throws it out. Yeah, okay. It's just a coincidence.
So it kind of suggests that his agenda and his attitude is centered around whiteness.
That's surprising. All right.
Perceived what whiteness is.
Yeah. Steve Cortez, who is a commentator on CNN, regular commentator on CNN, he appeared on Anderson Cooper's show. And, boy, buckle your seatbelt.
Is Donald Trump a demagogue? I mean, isn't this exactly what he is doing here?
No, I don't believe he's a demagogue. I did not appreciate the tweet, and I said so earlier this morning.
So
we'll say so again now.
He's not using people's prejudices in order to gain power?
No. Look, it was, again, I'm not defending the tweet. It was illogical. Americans don't go back to anywhere. They're Americans. And it was divisive. And in a time that I don't think we need division. So I would like him, quite frankly, to retract it or at least to clarify it. But let me also point this out, if we're going to talk about demagoguery and divisiveness.
Well, actually, we're not talking about demagoguery because you haven't acknowledged this is demagoguery. So if you acknowledge this is demagoguery, I'm happy for you to talk about demagoguery of somebody else. How can you say this is not demagoguery? How can you say that this is not playing on people's prejudices about people of color, about going back to your homeland, when in fact...
Because he didn't mention color.
Well, he doesn't have to mention... You're right.
So
it's just... You're saying it's random that he picked four people of color.
when you disagree with people of color, that doesn't mean you disagree with them because of their color. Okay?
And you tell them
in
to
other
go
words,
back to where they were come
If somebody disagrees,
if you tell a person of color to go back to the land they came from,
I already conceded that he shouldn't. I already conceded that was wrong.
Why was it
say,
wrong?
And he should, in my view, retract it and clarify it because they're Americans. Because they're Americans.
You know what? I love the whole victimhood. If you disagree with anybody, Blair, you're considered a racist.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
poor conservatives.
Poor conservatives. And I'm like, is that really the case? If the subject matter is, I don't know, you can pick any subject matter. Like, I don't know, abortion or guns and their perspective on that, or even like education or wanting their religion. When people disagree, they don't just say about random subjects. They don't say, oh, you disagree with me, you're racist. No, you get called a racist.
For saying racist.
Not because you disagree with a black person or a minority or a person of color. It occurs when you disagree with them about their worth and their value. So that does point to you being
But
racist.
see, it didn't
It's not
happen
just
here.
you disagreeing with them on general matters.
But see, it didn't
it's about
happen
you
here.
disagreeing with black people in regard to their worth.
Steve Cortez clearly stated that this is not a racist type of situation because Trump didn't specifically say this was about race.
He basically said, go back to Africa.
Yeah.
He pretty much said that.
So because Trump didn't say, I'm telling you to go back to your countries because you are people of color, because he left that out, it's not racism. Okay. So there was another individual on this panel as well, and that was Wajahat Ali, who is a columnist for the New York Times. And so he had some remarks as well.
President Trump is a racist, and if you don't think he's a racist, then there's no such thing as a racist. President Trump has already said he's a nationalist, and I think it's pretty clear after today's tweets. And some would say,
he is a nationalist.
Let him go. After many tweets, he's a white nationalist, and I would say he's a demagogue. He's a person who ran on the Obama birther conspiracy theory. For the 2018 midterms, Steve, you support a man who promoted a white supremacist conspiracy theory of Jewish money funding invaders, a caravan of immigrants, rapists, and criminals. And your father and my father, who are immigrants of color. Your father came from Colombia. My father came from Pakistan. The white nationalist base of Trump that you support, allegedly, would see us as invaders. And right now, he just said, go back to your country to four women of color, which is factually incorrect because 3 of those women were born in this country, so he's stupid. And also, Ilhan Omar is a citizen, and they're all women of color. So if you're unwilling to acknowledge and call out racism, because apparently that's Voldemort, because apparently calling out racism for being racism makes you a racist in this warped new mindset of Republicans, then you are complicit.
He was on the money there. I also liked how, and we know we're not going to show this, but towards the end of this chaos, at the end of this segment, he told Steve Cortez to be best. Which was a nice little throw-in right there.
Boy, he just set my man up.
Yeah, he did.
He just set my man up.
He did. It's ridiculous. And we see this all the time nowadays where you call out racism for what it is, and now you're racist.
What's interesting is, like, Trump has done that too, because he's been in defense mode ever since he's been criticized for his tweets.
Yeah.
And he has gone as far as saying that these 4 congresswomen and the Democrats are the real racists.
Yeah.
They're the racists. But, I mean, check this out. You're kicking yourself in the face if you use that logic. Because here, let me set it up. Person A calls person B racist, right? Person B says, hey, you're the real racist for calling me racist to person A. Do you know that person B is now calling person A racist?
Right.
So now that would make them the real racist. Based
It's
on
never ending.
how it's a logical shit circle.
Yeah, exactly.
Based on how the argument's constructed, you just pretty much
For throwing that term out.
It just came right back around to you.
Yes.
It just came right back around to you.
Let's just remain objective. If something is racist, then let's just call it for what it is. It doesn't mean that you should be more reflective of your behavior, of your words. If something is thrown at you. Like, maybe, you know, I don't understand how, but maybe you don't understand that it's racist. Maybe, I would guess that there are some people in the country, I don't think most, but I would guess that there are some people in the country that didn't understand Trump's words being racist. That Trump's words being thrown at these particular 4 women could be deemed racist. They're just seeing it as, oh, these people are criticizing the country, you know, just all the time. They're never happy, as, you know, Trump said about Ilhan Omar. Never happy, always criticizing the country. Why don't you leave if you have so many complaints? I think you know, there are some people that are really just seeing it on its face. They don't see the history behind it. They don't see that it's always thrown at people of color and never people that are white. They're not really seeing it. So maybe they're ignorant to those details. But get educated. That's the only thing I can say. Get educated, because it's not something that just occurred on Sunday. It goes back many, many, many years.
Right. And they're still kind of continuing this whole like anti-Semitic word game.
Oh yeah.
Because
Lindsey Graham said that like at least 3 or 4 times.
At least 3 or 4 times. Like, oh, they're the ones who are anti-Semitic.
Right.
So I don't think people on the right or Republicans, you know, I don't think that they can kind of criticize others for playing the race card when they are constantly doing it. And I love this because it shows that their hate for, I guess, the claim of racism being brought about is disingenuous. Because that's all they've been calling Democrats, especially Ilhan Omar, anti-Semitic, anti-Semitic, anti-Semitic. Like, so, and if you think about it, right, like one good way to kind of dispel all this, right, is to look at representation in Congress. That's a good place to start. Doesn't always mean something, but representation is a great place to start when determining like how one group values another group, right? And if you look at the makeup in Congress, as far as Jews go, in the House, GOP, 2, and then 0 in the Senate. Democrats, 27 in the House and 8 in the Senate, as far as Jews.
Think that means something?
I do think it means something. It means that group of people feels a certain type of way and feels that party either represents them or they feel comfortable in that party.
And you know, it's also baffling that we do hear this anti-Semitic, you know, these labels being thrown at these particular 4 congresswomen. But Donald Trump has his own anti-Semitic past. You know, there was comments that he made before he ever got involved in politics about how he only wanted a fat Jewish guy doing his taxes. He didn't want a black guy doing it because they have this internal subception to laziness. He at first denied those comments, but then years later said that they were probably accurate. Also, when he was campaigning for president, I believe, he was on stage talking about the money.
The money.
You remember he was in front of a Jewish group. I don't know exactly what event or what group this was, but it was in front of Jewish people. And he's saying, hey, I don't want you. I know you want to give it to me. I don't want you. I don't want you. I know you got a lot of it. Stuff like that, he said.
Talking about how good with money they are.
Yeah. These Jewish tropes that he was just bathing in. But he's not anti-Semitic. These 4 women are. All right, so we got one more ridiculous defense of Donald Trump before we're going to move on to something else, and that is the one and only Kellyanne Conway, the White House or the counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway. So she made a few different comments that we wanted to address. First of all, she said about this whole controversy, she said, I have never ever heard that man say anything untoward based on race in my experience. I think she's lying. I think she's lying.
You think?
I think she's lying, but even if she hasn't, well, hey, surprise, this is the first time. This is the first time. Because, again, you're going out of your way. Anybody that is trying to remove racism from this issue, you're going out of your way to defend somebody that doesn't deserve that defense. It is racist. It is bigoted. It is what it is. You never hear it thrown at white people. You just don't. Sorry. Just deal with it. Also,
and if you do hear it thrown at white people, it's thrown at white people because they advocate for groups that have been historically disenfranchised and marginalized. So
yeah. Well, if you, but you don't.
You don't.
But you don't.
That's if.
That's if, but you don't. It never at all. Did you ever hear this towards Bernie Sanders? Are you going to hear it about Elizabeth Warren?
Oh, now
Hillary Clinton.
It might be used as a political strategy now because you just clued them in.
Yeah. Oh. So now
you got to use it now.
So now it's like, okay, hold on. They're onto something.
They're onto something.
They caught us.
I'm
gonna call Joe Biden. And I'm gonna say, go to your country, Joe Biden.
You know what's so funny? It doesn't even come off well.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, man. Because we know it's racist.
I'm not saying it comes off well the other way, but what
it comes off as appropriate when you're talking about race. It comes off as understandable.
Historically.
Yeah, you understand what's behind it. But if you throw it to a white person, it's like, that looks weird. What are you doing there? All right. So also, she was in front of the White House, no, actually, that was when she said that. But anyway, so she was responding to reporter Andrew Feinberg about this issue again, and she had an interesting response that I don't think anybody was prepared for, especially not this reporter.
Following up.
He should be talking about it.
Following up on the previous question, if the president was not telling these four congresswomen to return to their supposed countries of origin, to which countries was he referring?
What's your ethnicity?
Why is that relevant to this conversation?
No, because I'm asking you a question. My ancestors are from Ireland and Italy.
Kellyanne, my own ethnicity is not relevant to the question I'm asking.
No, it is, because you're asking about, he said originally. He said originally from.
No, I am asking you.
And you know everything he has said since, and to have a full conversation.
So are you saying that the president was telling the Palestinian Americans to go back to the occupied territories?
The president's already commented on that, and he said a lot about this since that one tweet. He's put out a lot of tweets, and he made himself available to all of you yesterday.
He has not. No, just to the pool.
Yes, he has. He's tired. A lot of us are sick and tired of this country, of America coming last, to people who swore an oath of office. Sick and tired of our military being denigrated. Sick and tired of the Customs and Border Patrol people, the protection people I was with, who are overwhelmingly Hispanic, by the way, in McAllen, Texas. Sick and tired of them being, no, you don't understand, because you didn't go. Being criticized, being doxxed. By a bunch of Hollywood D-listers who have nothing else to do but sit on their asses on Twitter all day and try to dox brave men and women who are diving into the Rio Grande to save people who are drowning, who are taking other people's babies into custody and diapering them and feeding them and looking the other way while people are running across with drugs. That's going on.
To which countries was the president referring? To which countries?
How confident are you?
She has an ability
deflect.
To deflect. But she has the gift of gab. She just talks. She just talks and over talks people, especially when she doesn't have a point to make. She just talks and talks and talks. How does she respond with, "What's your ethnicity?" Well, I was just saying because my I think she said her
Irish,
Ireland, Italy. I think she said. What does that have to do with it? So by you saying that, by you pointing to where I guess you're originally from, like where your heritage goes back to, wouldn't you be making the argument that Donald Trump was actually advocating for these particular women to go back to their countries?
She's trying to, give us some context of what he really meant, because according to her, he said originally from, which doesn't change anything because they're originally from here.
Yeah.
So actually what Kellyanne Conway is still saying is
they don't belong to be.
They don't belong here because
they don't deserve to be here.
Their lineage doesn't come from here.
Yeah.
So you're still saying the same thing.
But
nobody's does. Nobody's does.
In this clip, she's criticizing the United States in this particular clip. So she should hop a flight to Ireland, to Italy, I guess.
Hey. Look, she doesn't have time to deal with the criticisms of Hollywood D-listers. Okay? Hollywood. I'm like, yo, the irony just got my like my brain.
She's
Hollywood D-list. I was like, the president. The president starred in a reality show. And he's on Twitter all the time.
All the time, man.
I'm like, these people just have so much gall, dog.
So there's one more clip, and she was on Fox News in this clip, and made a remark that it's disgusting.
But if they were already under fire by leaders in their own party, why get in the way of that? Because effectively, that's what's happened.
No, I disagree with that assertion respectfully, Bill. What the president is doing is we are tired, sick and tired of many people in this country. Forget these four. They represent a dark underbelly in this country of people who are not respecting our troops, are not giving them the resources and the respect that they deserve. They voted against the military aid. They voted against pay raises. They voted against the $700 billion, the $716 billion that this president has put forward.
Those are all lies.
Those are lies.
As far as veterans, actually, what party didn't even want to bring a bill forward, to block a bill to improve veterans, veteran accommodations, and as far as what kind of care they get in their hospitals? What party didn't want to?
Republican.
Oh yeah. Again, she's just talking.
Trump does like to take credit for the VA choice bill too, which was already in legislation, was already law by the time he became president. So that was actually an effort by Bernie Sanders and John McCain.
So her go-to is what? Like they're un-American because they don't support the troops in the veterans.
Yes. But the way that she said it, though, her using that phrase, a dark underbelly of the country, I don't think that was by accident. Whenever I hear that, because you can hear it in different ways. You can hear it in different situations. But when you're talking about the country, I really only hear it one way. The dark underbelly of this country has always been racism. I've always heard that as one way. But she's saying that these particular women are the dark underbelly of this country. You think that was by accident?
Nah, I don't think it's by accident at all. I don't think it's by accident. But again, this presidency has been very eye-opening. There's obviously some things that I've been witnessing during this presidency that I'm not surprised about, as far as what kind of says about America and where we are. But it's getting to a point where it's like, yo, this is in your face. Yeah. And I think we have to acknowledge this. And so when people issue statements, especially media pundits that say things like, this is not America, I say, bruh, nah, this is America.
Yeah, this is just in your face.
It's just in your face, and I think we have to deal with this. Until we acknowledge that this is America and there's enough people here that relate to the sentiments that Kellyanne Conway just issued, that Donald Trump just issued through his tweets, that people have been making excuses for. Until we recognize that, then it's like trying to get somewhere is going to be futile, because we won't acknowledge that there are people in this country that actually don't want to live in an equal society.
Yeah. It's in your face. If it's new to you, deal with it. Just come to that realization that this has always been the United States of America. But it is interesting how white supremacists like Kellyanne Conway repurpose phrases for their own benefit. The dark underbelly of the country is not, slavery, racism, bigotry or anything like that. No, it's these women. So we're going to show a clip of the Squad responding. They had a press conference as well. So we're going to show some clips of that.
In the face of the most recent xenophobic, bigoted remarks from the occupant of our White House. I will always refer to him as the occupant, as he is only occupying space. He does not embody the grace, the empathy, the compassion, the integrity that office requires and that the American people deserve.
This is a president who has overseen the most corrupt administration in our history and pursued an agenda to allow millions of Americans to die from a lack of health care while he transfers millions of dollars in tax cuts to corporations. This is a president who has said, grab women by the pussy. This is a president who's called black athletes sons of bitches. This is a president who has openly violated the very value our country aspires to uphold: equality under the law, religious liberty, equal protection, and protection from persecution.
No matter what the president says, this country belongs to you. And it belongs to everyone. And today, that very notion was challenged. This weekend, that very notion was challenged. So I am not surprised when the president says that 4 sitting members of Congress should, quote, go back to their own country, when he has authorized raids without warrants on thousands of families across this country. I am not surprised that he uses the rhetoric that he does when he violates international human rights and takes thousands of children away from their families. I am not surprised that he has turned our public education system under the leadership of Betsy DeVos into a cash cow to enrich himself and his friends. I am not surprised when he corrupts via the Secretary of Transportation. I am not surprised at what he's doing.
Sadly, this is not the first, nor will it be the last time we hear disgusting, bigoted language from the president. We know this is who he is, and we know that he and his administration are constantly engaged in actions that harm residents and American people in our country.
I'm glad they didn't bleep out that word.
Oh, yeah. Ian Omar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she said it. I don't believe live TV knew that was going to happen. But I mean, hey.
But just judging from how they came off, right, compared to those in the media that were defending Trump, including Trump. If you just judge how they came off, they weren't divisive.
No, they tried to censor the argument. Really, they were really trying to say, like, hey, you know, his words were disgusting. They were objectionable. Of course, we're offended, but we got business to do. You know, we got things to take care of because we are elected representatives. People actually came forward, cast their ballot for us to do the good work that we're here to do.
And what she is suggesting also is it's not that Trump was dismissing them.
Right.
Trump is dismissing everyone they represent and everyone that voted for them.
That's right.
And all of their constituents. So
and challenging the notion that this place, this America, this country is actually for all of us. By you stating that these particular representatives, elected representatives that are representing their constituents, that they should leave. When they were elected by the people, they should leave. I wouldn't say that about Mitch McConnell. I wouldn't say that about Trump. I wouldn't say that about any of these people that I have disagreements with and I think that are bigots and racist. I wouldn't say leave the country. No. I would definitely want to minimize the effect that you have on this country because, of course, you are demagogues. I definitely want to minimize the effect that you have on this country. Some of the effect that you have on this country is because of the corruption that persists in this country. We need to do something about legislation. We need to do something about the Constitution. We need to do a lot of things about a lot of damn things.
Gerrymandering, money
exactly.
In politics.
There are many things to address, but I still wouldn't say get out of the damn country. I still wouldn't say that. You can be as corrupt, you can be as bigoted and racist as you want to be within this country.
We
want to do something.
Yes.
Yeah, we want to do something so that you are held accountable for your words and actions, but we also want to do something to minimize the effect, the negative effect you have on this country and the people that are in it as well. All right, so let's leave that. All right, so We went hard on that, no doubt, because of course it is such a major story. Let's go somewhere else on the political scene. Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Let's talk about old Joe.
Yeah, we haven't talked about
Uncle Joe.
We haven't talked
Grandpa
about Joe a
Joe.
lot, man. Grandpa Grope and Sniff. We haven't talked about him a lot.
Yeah.
We talked about, well, we have, but like we haven't like centered the conversation on him.
Not many. I mean, well, that debate we
Yeah,
did.
but see, we're talking about the debate, so we had to talk about him. But like, just be like, we just talking about Joe.
True.
We have done a few.
Just
stories,
old Joe.
Yeah.
Joe. Yeah, we haven't done a lot of
it helps him that there's so many people, so many others to talk about.
Yeah.
So he's been spared because of that, but not tonight.
All right, so former Vice President Joe Biden unveiled his health care plan. It wasn't a surprise. By saying that it was unveiled, and I saw these reports too, he unveiled it, you know, his proposed plan about health care. It was nothing we haven't heard before. I was waiting to see. I was like, okay, there must be something in here, because to say unveiled must be something dramatic in here, something that might raise some eyebrows, but it really didn't. So anyway, there was a video that he posted onto social media, so here is the video.
It was great being part of the first Democratic debate in Miami. The question was asked whether we support eliminating private health insurance. Some said yes, I said absolutely not. I believe we have to protect and build on Obamacare. That's why I proposed adding a public option to Obamacare as the best way to lower costs and cover everyone. I understand the appeal of Medicare for all, but folks supporting it should be clear that it means getting rid of Obamacare. And I'm not for that. I was very proud the day I stood there with Barack Obama and he signed that legislation. Never before had anyone ever been able to do that in the White House. 20 million Americans gained coverage. Over 100 million with pre-existing conditions finally got protection. And most importantly, peace of mind. You know, I know how hard it is to get that passed. I watched it. Starting over makes no sense to me at all. I knew the Republicans would do everything in their power to repeal Obamacare. They still are. But I'm surprised that so many Democrats are running on getting rid of it. The Affordable Care Act was a historic achievement for President Obama. And if I'm elected president, I'm going to do everything in my power to protect it and build on it.
All right. So that's what you said, Grandpa Grope and
Grandpa Grope and Sniff.
Grandpa Grope and Sniff, doing his song and dance, that big, great bear hug of President Obama, former President Obama, wants to, you know, give him a great bear hug because he thinks that's the way to being elected as the next president. The public option. Again, it's not something that we haven't heard before. Biden has talked about it before. There are other candidates that have talked about supporting the public option. But he's not for Medicare for all because it's starting over. And he doesn't understand why so many candidates for president, so many Democrats overall, would be in favor of starting over. It was so hard to get Obamacare, the ACA, passed. Why would you want to start over? Is that is that authentic? Is that the right way to categorize it? To say that we're going to start from scratch? Is that the right way to categorize it? I've heard Republicans say the same thing.
See, that ad was very slick because, like you said, he did like this big bear hug.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He just, you know, gave Obama this big bear hug, a virtual bear hug, you know. And you kind of heard the background music, right?
Oh, inspirational.
Inspirational, lovely, relaxed. Mm-hmm. But what he was actually doing was fear-mongering. Mm-hmm. That's what he was actually doing.
That's what that video was for.
That's what that video was for. Yeah. Because no one wants people to go without having insurance. There's not going to be a grace period where there's nothing at all.
Right.
And so Biden is issuing this talking point, the same talking point that people like, what's his name, Delaney, have been issuing.
Right. That millions of people are going to be kicked off of their health care. But Medicare for All does no such thing. First of all, anybody that supports the idea of Medicare for All, the policy of Medicare for All, nobody is saying that once I get into office, we're going to do away with Obamacare, like the Republicans have consistently proposed doing. we're going to repeal it, and then we're going to have this debate about Medicare for all and see if we can get it passed. No, it will still be in place while that is going on, while the legislation is being drafted and voted on and passed. All of that will happen while the ACA is still a thing.
And connected to that ad, I forgot where he was, but I don't know, he issued some comments during a speech where he said, you will be able to keep your insurance.
Yeah, your private insurance.
You will be able to keep your insurance. And I'm just like, yo, do you remember how much shit Obama got for saying that?
Yeah, true.
I'm like,
true. Look. It's not that the idea of the public option is the worst idea. It is better than we have right now. I will say that. It's honest. I will be very honest and say the public option is what we have right now. That's what we wanted with Obama in the first place, the public option. He did not give it to us. He took it off the table, even though they had a Democratic majority in the House and the Senate. Took it off the table. Cool. All right.
Oh, so wait. All right. No, right, wait, no.
You want to stop me right there?
I'm going to stop you right there. Because, you said they had the majority.
Yes.
In the House and the Senate.
Yeah.
All right. Who was vice president?
Oh. It would have been Biden. That would have been Biden. 2009. Would have been Biden. Yeah.
So, he always talks about how he got things done. I did that.
Yeah.
Mr. Biggs. I did this to you.
But he didn't get the public option.
He didn't get that public option.
Actually, the public option was pulled off the table.
Why couldn't he get that done?
But he wants to get it done now.
Where was his voice at, though?
That's true.
Where was his voice at?
Because he wants it.
He wants it.
But it didn't get done.
But
the whole idea of the public option, it's not the worst idea. I think I've stated before, too, if the public option was the entryway to get to Medicare for all, and there was a specified amount of time, right. Like there was public option for this year, third year, bam, we have Medicare for all. Maybe I could get down with that.
The pathway.
It would have to be a solidified pathway. We would have to see the plan, and it would have to kick in automatically. This is what's going to happen. There can't be no two ways about it. Like, okay, well, maybe we'll get there in 3 years. Maybe we'll get there. No, I'm not with that whatsoever. But think about what the public option is supposed to do. It's supposed to create competition, right? It's supposed to create competition with the private health industry, right? So it's supposed to cut out the middleman. It's supposed to cut down on administrative costs. Joe Biden in his plan, he wants Medicare to negotiate prices with these prescription drug companies. He wants to do all of this, right? Okay, so would the public option, would that actually create the competition that they're actually, I guess, professing that it would? Because think about this. Without that middleman, without the administrative costs,
right,
the public option would cost far less than what private healthcare costs right now. Far less. If they're doing, when I say they, I'm talking about Biden and Klobuchar, all these politicians that are supportive of the public option. If they're doing so much to protect the private healthcare industry and saying that, no, we want them here, no, they're going to stay here, you can keep your private health insurance, all that, right? If your objective is to actually make it possible for regular people to buy into a government-run program and to purchase healthcare at a significantly cheaper price, does that make any sense when you're supporting the idea that the private health industry is going to stay here?
No, because
if those prices are so low, that would cause them to compete. That would cause them to drop their prices. Do we really think that's the initiative here that's going on?
So that's what they're trying to sell you. That's what they're trying to sell us. They're trying to say, hey, now there will be competition, and that's going to force the private insurance companies to drop their rates. Now, if that actually happens, what happens to the prospects of Medicare for all? They'll say, see, rates have dropped, so we don't need it.
Right.
But like you mentioned in the beginning of the segment, he was giving Barack Obama the big bear hug, right? And kind of connecting his agenda to strengthen Obamacare to Obama, right? as a way of telling the American people, hey, your favorite guy, Obama, we know he's your favorite guy, you really liked him, and I'm trying to do the same thing as him. So you got to vote for me because I'm trying to strengthen something he signed. And look at this scene I put in my ad, clapping him signing it. But the irony is, I think it was sometime last year, it was September, Obama inserted himself into the midterm elections, as he should. He was a former president, so he was stumping for some Democrats. And I think this speech took place in Illinois. And during this speech, do you know what he said?
What did he say?
Keep in mind what we're talking about here. We're talking about talking about Biden attaching himself to Obama to promote Obamacare or Obamacare Plus.
Right.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But during this midterm speech, Obama is quoted as saying, Medicare for all is a good idea. And he goes on to say, the Democrats aren't just running on good old ideas like a higher minimum wage. They're running on good new ideas like Medicare for all.
I remember that. That was the speech that he gave at the University of I can't remember. I think it was in Illinois, I believe.
Yeah,
we talked about that speech.
We talked about that.
I think we talked about that speech. Yeah.
So if I was Bernie Sanders, if I was Tulsi Gabbard, if I was Julian Castro, if I was Elizabeth Warren, and I had Kamala Harris, and I had an honest take on Medicare for all, and I was actually trying to increase the value of that policy, right? Just to the general public, I would play that clip in my campaign ads.
True.
And at the next debate, when that subject comes up, I say, hey, I'm closer to Barack Obama than Biden is.
True. Because if you're gonna give a great big bear hug to Barack Obama, you'd want that bear hug to, I guess, you want to hug a newer version of Obama. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to hug past Obama, like old Obama with old ideas.
Oh, yes, that's dope. That's exactly what I was thinking.
You want to hug brand new Obama.
The most recent Obama. Yeah. If you're going to tie yourself to Obama, it better not be like iOS 3.
Yeah, exactly.
It better not be iOS 3 Obama. You know what I'm saying?
But that's what Biden is trying to do.
That's what Biden is trying to do.
He's trying to dust off Obama from like 2009, 2010, man.
Now, I am not saying that like Obama's like position is genuine, but he didn't have to say that.
No, he didn't.
He didn't have to say that.
He came out and said that on his own.
He came out and said that on his own in support of candidates that made that like the central part of their midterm campaign.
He wasn't running.
And he said this 9 months ago. So old Joe was not paying attention.
Oh, man. Well, Bernie Sanders had a response for him, of course, because Bernie Sanders is the one that really brought that idea to prominence, Medicare for all. And so he responded by saying, at the end of the day, you've either got to be on the side of the people or the side of the health insurance companies. I know which side I'm on. So, of course, nobody wonders. We're definitely in support of those words. Like I said, I just, of course, these people, these candidates that are supporting the idea of the public option, whenever you're trying to, suppress the idea of Medicare for all as, too overreaching, going too far, you're breaking your back to defend an industry that has no interest in the lives of people. Their sole motivation is profit. When you are doing so much to protect that industry, you have to wonder why. When you say no, the only place we can go, as far as we can go, is only the public option. That'll create the competition. That'll make them do the right thing. Really? Does anybody really believe that? If you really wanted to make, how long has the conversation surrounded healthcare in this country? Decades. That's why we have Medicare in the first place, right? So the conversation has been ongoing for absolute decades. Haven't they had an opportunity to do the right thing? Haven't they had that opportunity? But they don't want to do the right thing because they have no interest in doing the right thing. Their interest is on the greenbacks. I had to bring it back. But that's their interest. Profit. It's not on people. So this whole notion that they're going to create the competition and make them do, it's not going to work out like that. They don't want it to work out like that. They want to create this illusion that the public option is going to do, is going to get us to a place where everybody's covered. 100%.
Magically.
With the private health industry still being here. It's not going to happen like that. All right. So yeah, let's get to this dummy of the day. LTMB dummy of the day is back. I don't know how long. Yeah.
Officially.
I don't know how long it'll be.
It's been 3 months.
Yeah, it's probably at least 3 months.
At least 3 months.
We have, like I said, we've talked about a lot of dummies on this program, without specifically saying that, hey, this is LTMB dummy of the day. We had to change that for this one. So the subject of tonight's LTMB dummy of the day is a guy by the name of John Merrill, who is the Alabama Secretary of State. John Merrill is one of 5 Republicans running to challenge Democratic Senator Doug Jones for his seat in 2020. Doug Jones, he won that seat in 2017 in a special election. He won that against Roy Moore, who is also one of the 5 Republicans that are running for this seat, running for office again. And that's a whole nother story. Of course, he is the disgraced.
How you running? How do you run again, man?
You know what? How you run? The disgraced sexual deviant, the pedophile, all of that.
Does he think that story is just going to stay with that election cycle?
But that's another story. He's not the object of tonight's discussion, right? The object of the discussion, of course, like I said, is Alabama Secretary of State, John Merrill. So Merrill was recently at a town hall this past weekend in DeKalb County. And he was asked a question about how the country's cultures and morals have deteriorated, leading Merrill to respond, "How have we allowed it to happen? There are no more good TV shows on like Gunsmoke, Bonanza, The Virginian, Andy Griffith, I Love Lucy. We don't have those shows anymore. We're too interested in homosexual activities." Merrill wasn't done. He continued. "We're too interested in seeing how this family's finding a way to mess on this family, or to see how people are trying to date on TV or having wife swapping on TV. That's what we watch. When we push back against that and we quit allowing it to be in our homes, that's how those changes have occurred, because we've allowed them to slowly but surely come into our lives."
Yo, man. How he gonna leave off Leave It to Beaver? How do you leave out Leave It to Beaver? The Brady Bunch? Gilligan's Island? How do you leave that? All in the Family. How do you leave that out? How do you leave that out? Like, yo, he needs to revoke his white card. How do you see what I'm saying? How do you leave those shows out? Those very square shows that appeal to, American traditionalism. How do you leave those aces out, man?
The problem, homosexual activities. We as Americans are too preoccupied with homosexual activities.
Actually, it's most likely him who's preoccupied with homosexual activities. The activities of people he doesn't even see during the day. The problem isn't homosexual activities. The problem is people's aversion to it.
Yes.
That's the problem.
They're not supportive of homosexuals. And we are at a point in time in 2019 where we have marriage equality. We do have TV shows where you do see homosexual couples. You do see homosexuality. You see heterosexuality as well, though. I mean, the shows that he harkened back to, though, he left off Leave It to Beaver, like you said, Brady Bunch, all that. But, I don't even know what the Virginian is. Sorry, I've never even heard of that. But Andy Griffith, yeah, heard of that. He said Bonanza, all of this. All these TV shows that have come and gone now, were they replaced with homosexual TV shows?
Homosexual shows. Like, yeah, I don't, like homosexual versions.
We're too interested in homosexuality? That's what led to the decay of the country's morals.
It kind of like it kind of speaks to this like this fantasy that like the United States of America like had these unwavering like moralistic ideas that you could look up to.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm talking about morals as in like I guess this country operating in a way that saw people as equals. This country operating in a way that you can look proudly upon. You can look back in history and be proud of. Yeah. Like this fantasy, like America was this upstanding country that couldn't be challenged when it came to morality is like really weird to me. And like for people like this, conservatives and people on the right, to point to homosexuality. Why? And point to homosexuality as being the sign that this country is gone down, and not something like how corrupt our government is, how much like war we wage across the planet, no doubt. How many gun deaths occur,
poverty,
police brutality, just anything like let's say something,
lack of healthcare deaths,
lead in the water, Flint as well as other cities. You see what I'm saying? Like.
You didn't point to
money
any of
and
that
politics.
Stuff. None of that stuff he pointed to. He pointed to wife swapping shows, and he talked about
gay people,
homosexuality.
Homosexuality.
Again, we're in 2019, and we're not where we need to be. Definitely, we're not where we need to be. But I think we're in a better place than what we were, in which you had people living in the shadows, specifically people that were homosexual. And so we have a situation now where those people are still living in shadows, but not to the degree that they were before. They can't openly marry. They don't, it's not the same situation where, they were living in oppressive types of situations, even though it still happens. But like I said, not to the same degree. We have more openness and acceptance in 2019. And he's saying that has led to the decay of morals?
What? All those shows, what time period did they run in? 50s, 60s?
Yeah, about that time. About that time.
60s. What was going on there?
50s, 60s?
50s, 60s.
Early 70s, something like that? Like that whole time period?
The whole time period. 50s, 60s. What was going on there?
I want to say there was like some gigantic movement.
Oh. You can't put your finger on it? So that time period represented morals, not decay.
Not decay.
So to him, the not just the existence of gay people, but gay people being visible, that's a sign of decay. That's worse than, let's say, black people not being able to vote. That's worse than segregation. That's worse than Jim Crow.
That's worse than sicking dogs on black people that are protesting.
That's worse than Japanese internment camps.
Yeah, fire hoses, water hoses, spraying them. It's worse than all of that. Because, like, again, that was a time where we had high moral standards that we can all appreciate and behold. But now,
gay people messed it up.
Again, I think like you said at the beginning, it's not us that are too preoccupied with homosexuality. It's you, buddy. It's you. But what's going on in his head?
What's going on in his head?
See, to think that the problems of today are because of homosexuality. Do you know that homosexuality always was here?
And you know what? I can't guarantee this, but I'm pretty sure the percentage was around the same. It's just that they couldn't come out.
That's what exactly. They didn't feel comfortable coming out. More people now, of course, feel comfortable coming out, actually revealing themselves for who they are, and not being penalized by that by society.
But if he, doesn't like gay people being present in the country, if he doesn't like gay people See, you already know.
I know where you
don't like, gay people being visible on television shows. If he doesn't like just gayness, homosexuals, all that, then maybe he should just go back to his home country. Just leave the country, right? He doesn't like it here.
Take Trump's advice.
Take Trump's advice.
Yes. He is a member of the Republican Party.
He's a member of the
and this is not about racism. He's a white guy. This is not about racism. It's just that he has a significant grievance with the United States of America. Yes. And as it currently is. So since it does not embody the moral standards that he wants to see here.
Maybe he should.
Hop out.
You know what I'm saying?
Maybe Trump will pay for his airfare. Just like you said.
Pelosi?
Yeah.
McConnell. No, McConnell.
McConnell will do it.
That's
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yo, this is 2019, bro.
Oh, man.
And people still think like gay people are somehow the cause of why this country is not working well.
Exactly.
But you know what it goes back to. And kind of what is being suggested here is that God is judging the country.
Yes.
Because of this. So
and God has his hands on the country
in
real time.
Until we get rid of things like gay marriage and abortion and all that stuff, then that's when this country can prosper. God will bless this country again.
Right. As long as you have these homosexual people running around and you're openly accepting them and they're able to marry just like heterosexual people, God is going to punish the nation. God is going to punish the nation.
You know what? I started thinking about this recently, and I think that is the way that they can, I guess, present a case of victimhood, right? Because really, for the most part, their lives aren't affected by the existence of gay people or gay people getting married. You go to any city, any town, any state right now, and you see what's affecting them, and it's not gay marriage. Their lives haven't changed.
Of course not.
But in order to present their justification, right, is in order to be justified in taking away people's rights, they have to kind of take on I would say a leftist narrative, right? Or the narrative of like oppression, like victimhood. That is the only way that they can actually feel justified in trying to oppress others. They have to feel victimized by someone else's gayness, right? Or someone else's homosexuality. So I think they are invoking God in order to do that. See, if God is punishing America and punishing the United States for gay marriage or just gay people being on TV and this debauchery, right? Then they can say God is punishing America and we're victimizing us. So that's how they become victims right there. Because they know that actually works. That actually works. So God's going to destroy us, so we have to keep them from getting married. We have to stop them from being on TV, doing that gay stuff.
Aren't there some regimes that do not permit marriage equality? They have a very unfavorable view of homosexuality, and people die because of that. Aren't some of these regimes enemies of the United States? Is that the way that God is blessing them?
Interesting point there. Interesting point.
And I do like the way he said that we have to push back against all of this homosexuality that we allow in our homes. How are you going to do that? Like, how are you going to push back on that? When we stop, that's his quote. He said, when we push back against that and when we quit allowing it to be in our homes, how are you going to not allow it to be in your home?
Because he's saying, but what he means is in our homes, it's like, it's coming through the TV. That's how it's getting in the home.
Yeah.
Because that's how homosexuality starts. It starts in the TV. It's a TV disease.
And then
that's how it starts.
And then it penetrates the mind.
And
it corrupts it. And that's how homosexuality breeds.
Yeah.
Lesson over.
See, and there's this kind of I guess mythology about television and how it's changed. Yes, television has changed, but like we have the ability to watch old television shows, and I still watch some.
Yeah,
I catch some every now and then. Some of them I don't even know the names of. My parents watch them when I'm over there. My parents watch them, and I will catch episodes, and I'm like, whoa, they had an episode about like I guess bigotry about racism, I guess homophobia, like in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. There were actually TV shows that had like episodes where they dealt with that. This is not some sort of like, now it's kind of become more mainstream.
No doubt.
To kind of promote it, but I can go back and watch older television shows where they had an episode where someone was actually gay. They had a gay character in these TV shows, and they may have devoted an episode to dealing with bigotry.
Right.
So there was no magical time where these things were not being brought up on TV.
He didn't. Did he say MASH? Did he say MASH? He didn't say MASH.
Yo, MASH
he didn't say
was
MASH.
the most boring show.
Oh my gosh.
Ever. Look, if you ever wanted to torture a child, you put MASH on. I used to hate
the theme music. I'd be like, oh hell no.
Yo, that was
not MASH again.
That was the most boring show. I would say as I got older, I started to respect some of the themes and some of the dry humor. But that was like until I got much older. But I still probably couldn't stand it for too long. But when I was a kid,
I still remember that damn music, man. Hated that. I couldn't stand that.
And see, back in the day, like when we were growing up, we only had one TV.
Yeah, most people. Yeah.
We had one TV, and one of them wood grain TVs. The TV situated in a wooden little frame.
Right.
Like it was a piece of furniture. It was a piece of, and nobody wanted to move it. Nobody wanted to move it. I remember you had to get up.
Yeah,
and turn
you
the
had no
knobs.
remotes. Not way back in the day. There were no remotes.
You know who the remote was?
The child.
Me, the child. I'm like, yo. All right, I knew my job.
Hell yeah, man. All right, that's about all we have. I do want to just address Eric Garner. Today, it was announced that his murder was not going to be prosecuted by the Department of Justice. Something that is not surprising whatsoever, knowing that this is the Department of Justice, under this administration, even though, this happened under the Barack
Obama's
administration, and nothing happened there as well. But definitely with this administration, I was not expecting anything else. The officer that killed Eric Garner, Daniel Pantaleo, has been on desk duty ever since he murdered Eric Garner. Though it's not surprising.
For selling cigarettes.
For selling loose cigarettes.
Loose cigarettes.
Untaxed cigarettes, yes. Again, it's not surprising, but it's a travesty. Eric Garner's death was ruled a homicide due to the illegal and impermissible headlock that was placed on him by Daniel Pantaleo. If you're looking at this thing objectively, it should have resulted in a criminal charge. But
think about how inefficient and ineffective such a chokehold is. If it results in somebody not being able to breathe. If you want somebody to comply, right, that requires mobility. That requires someone to move their arms and legs.
It also requires communication.
But when you cut off someone's breathing, you're cutting off their oxygen flow to the rest of their body. So you're expecting them to comply when blood is not able to get to the rest of their body. And specifically for Eric Garner, he suffered from asthma.
Yes. Now, there's no way that they would have known that but still, without that, you're still impacting this particular individual's ability to breathe.
Yeah.
So if you want them to do what you want them to do, maybe it comes to a situation where you do have to put your hands on them. Maybe it comes to that. Some situations do come to that. But when you're impacting the individual's airways, you're going to get a response. First of all, if he didn't have asthma and it didn't come to the point where he was like seriously suffering and about to die, you're still dealing with a situation where somebody's fighting to breathe. So you're going to have this person fighting you because they're trying to get your hand off of their neck.
Yeah, because
it's just not the best.
Exactly. Because if you can't breathe, your first order of business is to
not complying
and not comply.
They don't care about complying at that
what's
point.
even more disgusting about this I don't know if I can say it's more disgusting, but what's additionally disgusting about this whole Eric Garner situation, because what's his name, Pantaleo?
Yeah.
He was represented, obviously, and his lawyers floated this idea that Eric Garner's death wasn't caused by the chokehold.
Yeah.
Because he was fat anyway.
Yeah.
He would have died. It was because he's fat.
Because he's fat, yeah.
You don't become a lawyer at that. You're not a lawyer then. You're not just a lawyer. You're not just a litigator.
No.
You're not just a legal mind. You're not just counsel. At that point, you become a co-conspirator.
Yeah. Because he wasn't dying when he was standing on his own 2 feet, was he?
Yeah. You become essentially just as bad as the murderer.
Yeah, I agree. On his own 2 feet, under his own power, he was a big guy, no doubt. Nobody can deny that. You've seen the video. He was a big guy, but he was breathing on his own rather well before a chokehold was placed on him. But that doesn't result in charges. All right. So we're going to open this up for callers. We're interested in seeing what you have to say on this program. Have gotten some new callers from time to time recently, so we're encouraged by that. If you would like to be a part of the show and get your voice heard, the number to call in is 669-900-6833. Again, anybody that has a comment or question, short, whatever, depending on how many callers we have, depending on how much time we can afford to any particular caller. But again, we encourage everybody, if you have something to say, please give us a call. We'll get you on. New version available. Not updating that right now. That will lead to nothing but trouble. Oh yeah, just as a side note too, I didn't even realize that William Weld had entered the race for president as a Republican. Didn't even know it. He entered the race in April, I believe. Now he's going nowhere, it seems. I think in this quarter, he only raised about $700,000, which is not good whatsoever. But it is interesting. And why I bring that up too is because former governor, former representative from South Carolina, Mark Sanford, he's weighing the possibility of a run for president.
And you know why? Think about this. Think about what that says about the Republican Party and Trump.
Yeah.
Why is anyone weighing running for president right now?
Yeah.
Why would anybody be considering running for president when Trump is the sitting president?
Why?
Who challenges a sitting president?
It doesn't happen. It really does not happen. In one's own party, it really doesn't happen. But they see something in Trump, which I guess they see is, an opportunity for them to get in there. All right, so we got a bunch of calls lined
off
up.
The bat.
Right
so
off the bat.
We're going to let everyone know that's in the queue right now. We have 5 callers waiting. The queue is filled, so we're going to keep this limited.
Yeah.
So just let everybody know who's...
All right, so we're going to start with the 214 area code. You are on the air live with LTMB.
That would be me, Miss Sharon Information. How are y'all?
Sharon?
Man, what's going on,
Good to hear from you, Sharon. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. I missed the hell out of you guys last week and my progressive LTMB fam in chat. I was visiting my family in Alabama, and I'm still trying to get the sticky feeling of hillbilly washed off me.
Thanks.
Oh, God.
The sticky feeling of hillbilly. Man, you got away with words. You got away with words.
You guys have no idea, man, how regressive Alabama is. I know y'all hear about it, but, man, I went there, and it's just unbelievably regressive. I mean, I feel like I'm stepping back into the 1960s every time I go there. It's just horrible. But at any rate, I wanted to bring up something. The public option, yes, it sounds wonderful because I think a lot of people believe that it's a good stepping stone towards a universal system. However, I think we need to be really careful about it because they're going to seriously underfund the public option because when you think about it, it's going to be poor people. It's going to be people who don't have insurance through their employers. And, you know, when that happens, I don't think that it's going to be adequately funded. And so that's kind of, you know, scary. And I think that they'll use that if it's underfunded and it fails. Well, then they're just going to use that as a reason not to go for, you know, a full-on Medicare for all type system. So, you know, I shudder. I worry about that. And Biden's proposal is ridiculous. There is no reason why we should pay a for-profit entity, a third party, to be in between us and the doctor, who adds no quality to our care. There's just no reason for it anymore. And, you know, I know y'all agree, and I know most people in chat agree, maybe with the exception of Julia Marsh, although I want to give a shout out to him or her. Some may think you're a troll, Julia, but I just think you're a misinformed future Bernie Sanders supporter is what I think. And I love all y'all. So y'all have a good one. I don't want to keep chat. There's a lot of other callers I want to hear. I love the shit out of all of y'all, and have a good one.
All right. We appreciate that.
Appreciate that. Boy, a sticky hillbilly sounds like a weird sex position. Sounds like a weird sex position. Man.
It does, right? All right, so we're going to go to 218 area code. You're on the air live.
Hey, shout out. This is Christopher. This is Artificial Morphos Man in the room and the Relic in the Discord from Minnesota. Hey, I love you guys reporting. You guys have a really good take on what's happening around the world. Just want to tell you that. And I just had a couple of quick things. First of all, that guy talking about TV shows, he's referring to like propaganda with like mainstream media, cable TV. You know, it's to distract the masses away from the important issues. You know, watch I Love Lucy or Cheers or something instead of paying attention to what's affecting you politically, you know, with, you know, I would say Medicare for all is the biggest issue, but I just want to segue into the next issue. And I went to Elizabeth Warren's website last week, and her platform doesn't even mention Medicare. She only mentions it in her stump speech on her little video, and it just says, and provide Medicare, or no, just provide Americans so they get the Medicare they need. Like, she doesn't go into detail about Medicare. And I would argue that Medicare for all is like the biggest issue for Americans. I mean, not millions, but thousands of people are dying every year because they can't get care or they're losing their home for medical bills. Climate change is probably the biggest one. And then, you know, I saw something about how there was an article in Fortune magazine about how these big hedge fund managers are talking about how they could, hey, I could work with Elizabeth Warren. Like, they basically endorsed her, and she's supposed to be against Wall Street. So that's pretty messed up. And then some good news is the fundraising numbers were coming in, and I think it was Jordan Sheridan, someone, maybe Kyle, pointed it out that he wasn't in for the full 2 quarters. Like, he announced halfway through the first quarter, and he raised $18 million the first quarter in just a month and a half or so. And then he raised $18 million again in the second quarter. And then half of those donors were new donors and just $18 a pop. I think the closest one to him might have been Elizabeth Warren at like 750,000 donors. Bernie's got 2 million. So mainstream media is just going to run that narrative, ignoring those facts and propping up anyone else they can but Bernie, right? You know? So I just wanted to, you know, shout out those issues. You know, TYT did a story about Elizabeth Warren and her new immigration policy, but they failed to mention that she doesn't have Medicare on her platform and that Wall Street basically endorsed her in Fortune magazine. So I just wanted to shout that out because a lot of people in my family and stuff are like pro-Warren, but it's looking like day to day she's more like Hillary. She's not going to be as bad as Hillary, but we got to watch out for that wishy-washy rhetoric. And I know you guys have a lot of callers, so I'll just let it go. You guys are doing an awesome job. Love you guys.
Appreciate that, Christopher, man. Good hearing from you.
See, I'm glad we have calls, man, because the first thing he addressed, that's not where we went with it.
No,
so
it's
I'm
not.
glad we have
I'm
calls.
glad he said that,
especially about the 50s television shows being propaganda, something that we failed to mention.
Right.
That's something I've heard too, and what that does, it kind of keeps people in this place where everything's good.
Yeah, it keeps you lost.
It keeps you lost.
Yeah,
I'm glad
you don't have to.
that.
You don't have to actually talk about like issues that are actually ongoing, that are destroying lives, keeping people in the shadows and in the dark, stuff like that. So yeah.
And we did talk about those other two things he brought up.
We
talked
did.
about Warren not having Medicare for All on her website,
and how she has been very wavering about that.
And at her events, they have different paraphernalia about what her platform is centered on, and you can pick up these pamphlets. And there was a pamphlet for everything. It was like 10 different stacks at this event, and there wasn't one stack there for Medicare for All.
Which is and this is why you really have to look at her with one of your eyebrows raised, because when she was on the debate stage, she gave a really good answer to the question about Medicare for All, and she was one of the people on that night that said, "Would you get rid of private health care?" And she was one of the people that raised her hands. But then when you hear her answers other times, when you heard her answer, in her first town hall, she was wishy-washy in that regard. Christopher's talking about, her platform as well. You go to her campaign website, you don't see anything about it. I don't know how you can trust her. I don't.
And we actually talked about the fundraising last week, I think, was it?
Yeah.
And we talked about the metric that was most important and kind of ignoring the actual number. Don't completely ignore it.
Yeah,
but
the number
is relevant, but it doesn't provide a full picture as to how much support somebody has. And he did mention the number of new donors and the number of donors.
Yes,
those are Bernie Sanders has, and he has more donors than the top three combined, top three other candidates combined. Yeah. And that's the metric that you use, or we would use, to determine how much support or liquid support somebody actually has.
Yeah, if you have one really big donor, right? You have one really big donor that gives you $20,000, but I got 20 donors that gave me $1.
You got one vote and 20 voters.
Now you may be able to get in front of more people because of all that money that you raised. Yeah. I mean, like maneuvering with your campaign ads, stuff like that. Yeah, your campaign is doing better, and when you're talking about financially. But when you're talking about bodies that translate into ballots casted, that's the only numbers that really matter. And it seems that Bernie is running away with it at this point. So I've said it many times before, we're now past the first debate. We're in the month of July. The last program that we talked about, you remember we talked about in 2015 who was leading the way in the Republican field. And that was
Jeb Bush.
2015.
Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz.
Yes. That's who was on top.
By far. Trump was polling at 1%.
And in the other party, Hillary Clinton was way ahead of Bernie Sanders. When it came time to the actual caucuses and primaries, of course, that gap really shrunk in the Democratic field. Bernie ended up winning 22 states, I believe. Lots of delegates. In the Republican field, Trump eclipsed all of them. So, polls, there's something to talk about, but of course they're not everything. I saw a poll earlier today. I think it said that Biden had slipped under 30%, support, I believe, for the first time,
blah, blah,
blah. But they keep talking about how Bernie is slipping. He keeps slipping. Kamala Harris is making ground, Elizabeth Warren, this and that. It's a little bit too early to really take these things seriously.
And all the polls that I saw that were released that kind of show that, those numbers, sample size is like 1,000, 800, 1,000.
It's ridiculous, man. All right, let's get to the next caller. The next caller is from the 347 area code. You have the mic.
Hi, how are you guys? It's Nene.
Nene, what's up, man? How you doing?
Yo.
Yeah, we haven't heard from you in a while.
Haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah, it's been kind of crazy.
Now remind me how to spell your name because I busted it up, I believe, before.
Neennee.
N-E-E.
That's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. What you got for us tonight?
So, oh boy. So I want to talk about the CDC, the Congressional Black Caucus.
Okay.
Okay.
And I just wanted to get you guys' opinion on it. And I especially wanted to get your specific opinion, being that one of you was originally from New York. Because a lot of times, Black people from the North and the South tend to think differently about these issues. So it's not too often that you get the two, in a pair right there like that. So it's perfect. Right. And so I'm kind of fed up with the CDC. Like, I'm really fed up with the CDC. So I don't know what's going on. You got, Barbara Lee endorsing Kamala. Well, actually, you got Barbara Lee and now Bobby Rush and Al Green and Alcee Hastings. Why y'all endorsing her? Maxine Waters backed her when she was running for AG, and I'm like, why? She blocking us up. Like, I'm not understanding because if there was a Venn diagram between the CBC and the Progressive Caucus, there should be a lot of overlap as far as, at least policy at the very least. But why are y'all backing Kamala? Why are y'all not calling out Cory Booker and what he's doing when he's taking bribes from the pharmaceutical industry and voting, against our best interests? Like, what are you guys doing? I'm not understanding. Then you have, it was back when, I believe it was Mark Meadows, and he had the whole back and forth with Rashida Tlaib about whether he was racist. I believe, wasn't it Elijah Cummings that come up? Yeah, and I'm just like, what are you doing?
And Elijah Cummings went out of his way to defend Biden, too. Elijah Cummings went out of his way to defend Biden, too.
Yes, and then, so on the Young Turks, after that happened, I remember Hassan Piker was like, he's a coward. And Brooke, I forgot her last name, I'm so mad. But the Black woman, Brooke, the attorney that commented on there lately, I really liked her. She was like, no, you can't call him a coward because, and they were talking about John Lewis and everyone. And she was like, you can't call him a coward because all he's done in the civil rights. And I respect what the CBC, members of the CBC have done. I do respect that. But we're talking about right now. You're making decisions right now. It's not like you're out of office and you just, home collecting checks. You're still in office and you're making decisions against our best interests. Barack Obama used to be part of the CBC, and then look what happened when he became president. You didn't help us. Like, I don't understand what they're doing right now. And so we got Ayanna Pressley. Yeah, she backed Hillary Clinton, but she seems to have seen the light at some point. Like, I'm not understanding what's going on with the CBC and what stance are you taking? It's not even center moderate. It's just against our best interests. Like, I don't understand. I wanted to get you guys' opinion.
See, that's where you the one of the last thing you said, against our best interests.
What are their interests, Will?
We're talking about politics here.
All right.
So I know it's being Black, and seeing these Black people not stand up for our best interests. It's something to see. It's something to feel a certain type of way about. I understand that, but those Black people are no different than anybody else that are in Congress. White people, Hispanic, Latino.
No, but they are. They were civil rights leaders.
No, but
she was being sarcastic. She was being sarcastic. She was being sarcastic.
On this show too, we have talked about John Lewis particularly a number of times. Not really recently, but I remember in 2016 we talked about him a number of times. And we talked about his bread being his biscuits being
butter biscuits.
Butter biscuit. And it's just, of course we know what he did back in the past, and nobody's going to take that away from him. But when you see where he is now politically and what he represents, what he stands up for, what he supports, what he doesn't stick his neck out for, it's like, okay, let the past go. You can't say that because somebody did something, that separates themselves from criticism anymore. You can't criticize them because they put their neck on the line. You know, they could have died. You know, they were such a pivotal force in turning this country around and trying to propel us forward. We appreciate those efforts, but it doesn't seem like he's trying to do the same thing anymore. We see that with a lot of these people, a lot of people that you mentioned as well. It wasn't the right thing to, especially at this point too, to endorse Kamala Harris. Now, I expected it, especially when in the case of, you know, like Barbara Lee, she's from California. So I expected that to happen. No, I don't believe that it was the right choice. I don't believe that lines up with who Barbara Lee is. But again, these are politicians that do politician type things.
And they're susceptible to the same kind of muddied interest and corruption that other politicians are. No matter where simply because they're black. Their black skin and the concentration of melanin that they have is not like a shield to kind of falling into the hands of special interest or, you know, being influenced by corporate donations.
Or not having the courage to actually stand up.
And not having the courage. Because sometimes having the courage to stand up means you have to sacrifice something. And possibly your position. And just like human beings don't want to give up their position and their power, especially to a younger generation. So you probably have a few things going on here.
That's true.
One of which is not sinister and the other which is most likely suspect. And that they don't want to lose their power. The first thing that's probably, in the forefront of my mind is them being stuck in old ways. Is a conversation that usually gets levied against like old white men, right? But unfortunately, there's a lot of old black people that kind of suffer from that too. So yeah, you just have a lot of old generation folks in there. Who don't want to give up power, and they have gotten theirs. They won their civil rights struggle.
That's right.
And I guess there's continued civil rights struggles that maybe they don't value as much. They may give some rhetorical value to it, but in their actions, they don't, maintain a strong enough voice in opposition to these current civil rights struggles. So maybe it's an issue about their time has, passed, and they have gotten theirs.
Yeah, they have become the people that, weren't as progressive as them back in the day. You know, when you're talking about a John Lewis, there were a lot of black people back in the 50s, 60s, 70s that were like, y'all are doing too much. You need to calm down. You don't want to do too much. White people getting upset. You can't push them but so far. But no, people like John Lewis, they stood up. They did things, they were on the front lines, they were protesting, they made sure that, the ways of America changed. But those same people have now become the same people back in the day that were telling them to calm down. Hey, it'll get better. So really, I would love it if John Lewis would retire. I would love it, and people just like I would love it if they retire. You've done your service, you've done some good things, but
your usefulness is completely expired.
It's gone. You step away.
Because if they were practicing the politics they were back then, they'd be way more effective right now.
So I hope that answers some questions for you, Nene. We're going to have to go on to some other callers because this thing is lining up. But we appreciate you calling in. Always love to hear your voice. Hope you call in again soon.
Thanks, guys. Even though I haven't pulled in, I've definitely been keeping up and listening. So
I appreciate that.
You'll definitely hear from me again.
Appreciate that.
Enjoy your night.
All right, you do the same. All right, so we're gonna go to who we got. 443 area code. You're on the air live with LTMB.
Hey guys, this is Austin, aka Django Fett. How's it going?
Did you say Austin or Awesome?
Austin.
I still didn't hear it.
It's been a while since I called.
Did you hear it?
I still didn't hear it. You said it too fast, man.
Oh, Austin.
Austin.
Yeah, it's been a while since I called. So.
Okay.
Austin.
Okay. What's going on, man?
Yeah, man. What's on your mind, man?
Hey, I kind of want to just make a statement for Medicare for All, especially my position. Recently, like 3 months ago, I actually got let go of my job because of the lack of work, which sucks, man. And So if no one's familiar, especially for the health insurance and stuff, if they get let go, there's like I guess it depends on the company, but you have like a 2-week grace period of having the health insurance with you. And then after that point, you have to find another health insurance or you better get another job.
2 weeks.
So
is Cobra still a thing? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, Cobra is still a thing, but it's just too damn much money.
Oh, of course.
I just can't afford it.
Yeah, I remember that was presented to me one time I left the job, and I was thinking, oh, okay, I can still have healthcare. Okay, and I saw the price. I was like, you're insane. There's no way I can afford this. Are you crazy? Yeah.
Yeah, so like I've been out of a job for 3 months, and I've just not had health insurance. Yeah. So, I mean, in that 3 months, if I got injured or anything happened to me, I was screwed. I had to pay the full amount.
Right.
You know, it just would have sucked ass, you know? So recently I just did get a job. I accepted a job offer, so I'm good now.
That's good.
It's just been a headache, man. Just like you can't just find a job just so quickly. Like some people can do that, but other people can't. But for my case, you know, I recently got it after 3 months, but
and then finding a job that offers healthcare as an added benefit too. Mm-hmm. That's another thing.
Yeah, I mean, why should we rely on like the job, like companies with the private insurance like all the time? Like with Medicare for All, you wouldn't have to worry about that. Exactly. None of it.
Doesn't matter if you're employed or not. Wouldn't matter.
And I would think too, like with small businesses, they'd be screaming to the high hills about this stuff because they wouldn't have to pay these extremely high health insurance costs for their employees. But I like how the media hides that stuff. They don't ask these types of questions to them.
Mm-hmm. I feel you, man. I don't know how familiar you are with our background or anything like that, but we played basketball a lot. Back in the day, we played basketball, and there was at one point, I don't know if it was around it, but I know there was one point I didn't have insurance, right, and I wanted to get out there and play basketball. Now with basketball, with any sport, you can get injured. And I remember that being in my head, like, okay, hold on. Do I really want to, like, sky for this rebound? Do I, like...
See, I didn't think about that till, like, after I kind of laid off a bit.
Yeah.
When I thought about, like, getting back into it and, like, playing basketball almost, like, 4 or 5 days a week. And I was like, wait a second.
Exactly,
I was playing basketball 4 to 5 days a week, probably longer on the court than, let's say, a lot of people who play professionally.
True.
Like as far as hours playing.
Yeah.
Or play for like amateur like college. Like we would play like for 2-3 hours a day.
And if anything happens.
Yeah, and I was like, hold up. I was like, man. And
I mean, oftentimes you might sprain an ankle. That might be the most significant injury, severe injury, a bruise, something like that. Maybe I've tweaked my my groin before, had to lay off for a couple weeks, something like that. But you can have some serious. You can tear an ACL. Your Achilles can go out.
Yeah.
I mean, there'd be some
break
serious,
a bone.
I'm saying
that would put you out of work.
And you're just trying to have fun. You're not doing this as a profession or anything like that. So man, I get the struggle. I understand exactly what you're talking about.
I'm glad you called with the personal account, man, because I was actually online. It was funny. I was online today, and I was reading people who, I guess they run small businesses, and they were talking about how they were sharing, like, the rates that they were getting. I was like, the rates that they have to pay. And I was like, dang. So Joe Biden could sit up here and talking about, insurance through your job and whatnot, but kind of not talk about those small business owners.
Yeah, and like, if you think about it, I mean, business owners are about making money. And if you cut out that cost completely, then, you make more money in the process.
Exactly. Don't put it on them. Well, I mean, why are they dealing with healthcare anyway? It's a job. It's ridiculous. The only solution, the only rational solution is to do away with the private healthcare industry. That's the only, and at least in terms of general health care. Many people have said, Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris has said it, but then wavered. But still, if you're talking about, these optional procedures, stuff like that, sure. I'm sure they will be glad to take somebody's money. I'm sure of it. They won't be going anywhere. But if I'm sick, if I need some medication, if I have a mole and I need to get it checked out. I mean, all of this general medicine, general healthcare, why are we putting that on an employer? It doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't make sense to have the private health.
Yeah, I just wanted to end it right there. But next time I want to talk about the Green New Deal, man.
Okay, cool, man.
Okay,
yeah.
That's cool, bro.
Well, we appreciate you calling in, man. Good to hear from you.
All right, thank you. Take care.
All right, so we're gonna go to I believe 253. Yeah, 253. You got the mic.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Jordan.
Jordan, man.
Jordan.
How you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. Wait, how much time do we have? Am I the last caller?
No, we got one after you.
All right,
We got a little bit. We probably got at least 12, 15 minutes or so, probably.
Oh, okay, that's not bad. All right, well, I only had two things that I wanted to bring up. One, you guys were talking about Trump 2020 and whether or not he's going to win. And you guys covered that really well. I just wanted to add this one thing of why I think we talked about this in the Discord as well, but why I think that Trump doesn't have very large of a chance of winning. And the one thing I wanted to add that you guys were talking about is that in 2016, not only was Hillary a uniquely bad candidate, which you guys mentioned, but also everybody thought that she was going to win anyways, which depressed the vote even further, which isn't the case here in 2020 where everybody's taking it very seriously.
Look, that's definitely possible. Even people that were conservatives really expected Hillary to win. So it was a surprise. It was a shock to many, many people. So if that did have an effect on the overall vote count, especially in the swing states too, that's very possible. Maybe some people did stay home. It was still, I think that was the largest vote count, I believe.
Yeah, she got more votes. Yeah, she got more votes than Barack Obama did, both in 2008 and 2012. But that doesn't really speak to how much the vote was suppressed based on what type of candidate she was.
Right.
So we don't know.
We don't know.
And a lot of votes went to Gary Johnson.
That's true.
I was like, if you look at the amount of votes Gary Johnson got, I was like, yo, he cleaned up.
Yeah, he did.
If you're looking at percentage-wise for a third-party candidate.
Yeah. So that definitely is possible. And what you're saying about people being more interested and, I guess, really feeling the need to oust Trump, I think that feeling is significant. So maybe even more people will show. I think in every election, of course, the number's going to go up because there's more voters total. But still, I think the energy is more so here. It's going to be more energy behind the election and the campaign for 2020 than 2016.
Yeah. Social media became probably more of an issue too. Started under Obama.
Yeah.
But so I'm glad you added that in there because I don't know how much of a chance Trump has. He still has his core base, but we're not sure if that's enough considering his he has an actual record now. So.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, as you guys were saying, Hillary was a uniquely bad candidate, and then on top of that, a lot of people just didn't vote because they thought she was going to win anyways, and they were disgusted by the whole election. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I've been talking to some people in the Discord. They think that Bernie's the only person who can beat Trump. And I think that Bernie is the most likely to beat Trump. He would be the most overwhelming victory. But honestly, I think anybody other than Biden would probably be able to beat him.
Yeah, I had said the same thing before. Actually, I went so far as to say that everybody would beat him. But that was before.
There was 8,000 candidates.
Well, that was before Biden was Biden and did some Biden type stuff.
True.
I mean, he's uniquely bad. I would say he's even worse than Hillary, just on the face of it.
We are there with you.
Yeah, we're there with you, bro.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right. All right, and then I only had a second thing. We were talking about it in the chat. We have a right-winger in there, and they were saying that Ilhan Omar saying it's all about the Benjamins was anti-Semitic. Mm-hmm. And I think that I just wanted to voice my opinion on that it's not anti-Semitic, just because to say that AIPAC is all about the money, because AIPAC doesn't represent all Jewish people, neither does the Israeli state. And it's actually anti-Semitic to say that the state of Israel, like a nation state, represents all Jewish people, because I think that Jewish people would have a problem with saying that.
Right, because Benjamin's is a reference to money.
True.
It's a reference to money. Appreciate
right,
you
and I could see how that would be misconstrued, but she's not saying that anything about the Jews or whatever. She's saying AIPAC, which is a political organization just like any other political organization, or Israel as a nation state, which is it's just a government. And to say that those two organizations represent Jewish people, that's what's anti-Semitic, not saying that those organizations are problematic.
All right, man. Glad to hear your voice tonight, Jordan.
All right, man. I'll let you get on the next caller.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Look forward to hearing from you again.
You know, talking about like people sitting out during the election, I think a lot of people didn't want to vote for Hillary Clinton, but still wanted to see Trump lose. That's why they set out.
True, I agree.
They didn't want to like go on the record and say I voted for Hillary.
Yeah. All right, we got time for that one last caller. All right, 617 area code. You have some time. What's going on tonight? You're on the air live.
Hey, Mike and Will, it's Ben. How are you doing?
Ben, man, what's going on with you tonight?
Hey, same old, just grinding. I'm I work. I run like an eBay business and Amazon business at night. So, like a lot of people, it's like two jobs. You know, I have my day job, and then I come home and I grind out in the basement. You know, working in my e-commerce and just trying to scrape everything together. You know.
What kind of stuff you sell, bro?
Basically, like I kind of got a niche with vintage camera stuff. I got one as a gift, and like one of my old coworkers was always bringing me in like speakers and old records and stuff. And one day he brought me a Pentash K1000, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try this on eBay because I always wanted to do that. And I sold it, and then I kind of kept on flipping, and now here I am. So still working hard at it.
Wow, word. That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
So what you got for us today, man?
Hey, are you guys old enough to remember film cameras?
Yes, yes. And having to get those developed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man.
Trying to thread it through all that.
Yeah. So and then nowadays the lenses on the film cameras get used with all the mirrorless cameras too. So that's kind of like it's like a dual market. You got the people who like the vintage camera stuff for the film, like the nostalgia, and then you have a lot of current filmmakers who are using like those plastic lenses. So yeah, but I had two comments, both short and sweet. Madness is when the president of the United States' primary goal is to divide the country.
Yeah, that's what dictators do, man. That's what dictators that are inept at doing their job and are unqualified do, and who just want to have authority and just have it in power. And who's a narcissist. That's all he can do. That's the only way he can win is to divide and be divisive and create enemies, because it distracts away from his own failures and his own inadequacies.
And so he has to lie every chance that he gets because he has nothing else that can sell himself or his administration in a positive light.
Well, you're right. That is madness.
That's madness. Madness is when the president of the United States' primary goal is to divide the country. And that's what he's doing right now. So I just wanted to play that off because I saw you guys' promo, and I was watching that, and I kind of liked how you laid that all out, so I figured I would kind of go off that for this one. And the other thing I wanted to mention was I posted about vote.gov, and what happened last year, my wife showed up in the primaries to vote for Bernie Sanders, and they said, oh, you're not registered. And she was like, I've always been registered, you know, and it was kind of one of those stories. So I just wanted to make an appeal to everybody out there. I don't believe it's too soon to vote I know some states there's like a really long window of like you have to register as a Democrat to vote in the primary, like 6 months before. So I'm kind of wondering like if you guys maybe might consider doing a show where you kind of touch on. I know it's usually like all about like the current events, but do you think it would be worth doing a show about like, like maybe diving in a little bit on the topic of registering to vote and kind of touching on some of those states where it's a real problem and kind of trying to get everyone.
Yeah, we could do that because I mean that really wouldn't even take that long. I mean we could definitely mention how important it is and lay out how do you find out where you go to
find out
what the dates are and everything that you have to have, all of that.
And it's fairly easy too. That's why it needs to be a bigger conversation, especially because people tend to take those things for granted. So
and wait until the last minute and then it's too late. Yeah.
So we'll take that suggestion.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Hey, I'll let you go, but it is criminal that voting is not a national holiday, but we'll have to just do what we can. So I'll talk to you guys soon. You take care.
All right. Appreciate that, Ben.
All right, guys. Take care. Bye.
I remember. I don't know what that was. Anyway, but I remember. 2015. The Democratic debates. Now, of course, they started later than what we're seeing right now. And I mean, I don't know if I am understanding or not. We had a Democratic president in office. Maybe they didn't want to start it so early because they still have whatever. Whatever. But what I do know is that the whole process, getting registered, these closed primaries and all of this, it's an absolute travesty. The New York primary, New York State, Democratic primary. To vote in the Democratic primary in New York, you had to register, I believe it was the day before the date of the first debate. So I remember us talking about that many times because at that point, there were, of course, a lot of people that knew who Bernie Sanders was and that he was voting. He was running for president. He did have a lot of rallies at that point. He came to South Carolina. I saw him in South Carolina in August, I believe. So his message was getting out there, but we still had the whole Bernie blackout thing where, corporate media, companies, organizations, platforms were trying not to focus on him. They were ignoring him. So for a lot of people that aren't heavily involved in politics, and they get their information from corporate news outlets, and they get a lot of their information about candidates from debates. For anybody that saw Bernie Sanders at that first debate in the state of New York and was like, damn, hold up, I really like this guy. I really like who this guy is and what he's saying. I really like his ideas. I didn't know there was a candidate out there that was talking like this. I want to vote for him. Let me get registered. Oh, it's too late. It's too late. It's too late to vote now. How about that? So the whole process is corrupt. I know the Democratic Party had to know that was the case. They had to know that the date for the first primary lined up right after or even after the date to register to vote in Democratic. It's like I said, it's a travesty. It's important to get registered. So we are early on. This is July. It's very important. I think that's good advice. It's very good advice from Ben, and we'll probably get that done soon, so people understand the pressing need to do it and to do it very soon. So yeah, good advice, Ben. All right, just reading some of this chat here. See if anything we need to address in the chat, any questions or anything. It is very difficult. We've said it many times before. Just want to let y'all know it's very difficult to keep up with the chat because there's only 2 eyes on it. We try to keep, an eye on it. Sometimes we're better at it than others. Sometimes we notice questions or statements that we can address or want to address. So just forgive us. Understand. There's only 2 eyes here. Anything you've seen?
No, I haven't seen anything. I'm glad that Jordan caught that comment, claiming anti-Semitism via Ilhan Omar, based on a very... the comment was pretty obvious. You see what I'm saying? So to take
we talked about it at the time.
We talked about that at the time. So to take that comment and try to extrapolate, some sort of, I don't know, this vast anti-Semitic attitude by her is like kind of a reach. And especially if it's coming from a right wing or a conservative or a Republican. Like the whole thing was disingenuous.
Yeah.
Like for them to call out, considering that Matt Gaetz invited a Holocaust denier to the State of the Union address. There was another Illinois Holocaust denier that won the GOP's congressional nomination. Two GOP lawmakers hosted an event where they, invited a Holocaust denying white nationalist. Trying to look for some other things. The list is long.
So for them to criticize her, they don't really have a leg to stand on.
Yeah, California GOP Congressman John Fitzgerald, he openly denies the Holocaust. And his campaign website includes false claims that 9% of U.S. government officials are dual citizens of Israel and that Jews played a prominent role in African slave trade. And he's quoted as saying Jews must be stopped.
But see, look at this though. Definitely, that is something relevant to talk about. I mean, they don't have a leg to stand on, given many grievances, many I won't even call them missteps. They know what they're doing here. In the conversation about anti-Semitism, the Republican Party, come on, there's many instances where they are. But you can also say that if it was anti-Semitic, what Ilhan Omar said, if it was anti-Semitic, forget what the Republicans did or what they could criticize her about. They don't have a leg to stand on. But if it was anti-Semitic, I wouldn't care. I'd be like, yeah, they have no leg to stand on, but it's still anti-Semitic. I would say that. Anybody would say that if it was actually anti-Semitic. But I didn't believe that it was. And that's the heart of it. When she's talking about money in politics as it relates to a Jewish lobby, as it relates to AIPAC, I think AIPAC particularly, of course, that's the largest Jewish lobby, but they don't get into the business of actually, I guess soliciting money, actually, paying and contributing to candidates. But that does not mean that they're not that doesn't mean that they're apart from the whole situation whatsoever. They can route politicians to other Jewish lobbies, and there are a lot of other there are other Jewish lobbies that do contribute many dollars to candidates. So it's not to act like they're completely apart from the whole money in politics game because they don't directly contribute to candidates. I think that's a little naive.
Julia in the chat, I don't think this is a both sides argument. So there is no Republicans are bad too, because two in this context means that Ilhan Omar said something that was anti-Semitic, which she did. My point was not she didn't.
Yeah.
My point was not to play this whataboutism thing. My point was to say that the criticism was disingenuous,
right?
Because it was clearly not talking about Jews, and there are members in the Republican Party has been openly anti-Semitic, including Trump aides, who I think one of them, his name is Robert Jeffries. He was a aide of Donald Trump. I guess he was part of his whatever that. What is that? It's not like a fake team or whatever they have. I forgot what it's called. It's advisory board. What advisory like one of the official, I guess, spiritual advisors of the president or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He said that Jews are going to hell. There was a rabbi at a Mike Pence rally that thinks Jews who deny Christ are going to hell too. So my point of bringing all that up was to say that their criticism is disingenuous because Ilhan Omar's comments were nowhere near anti-Semitic because she wasn't talking about Jews. She was talking about a lobbying group, an Israeli lobbying group.
To equate Jews to a lobbying group is not real. That's not what anybody was doing. You know, this whole talk about, or not even the talk, really the background of it. I think, you know, we've talked about before how exhausting this is to really just even and discuss these issues on the show. For me, it's very exhausting. And not just, you know, not the time that we have to put in to, you know, get all the facts and compile all everything, images, everything like that, just to know what we're talking about. But it's getting increasingly more frustrating when we have to deal with things like Donald Trump and his rhetoric, his racism and his hatred and his bigotry and all of this. And it's compounded by the defense. When I hear Kellyanne Conway and Steve Cortez and Newt Gingrich, Lindsey Graham, when I hear all of these defenses, that, I mean, they are being disingenuous to the max. I don't know if they can eclipse themselves, but they damn sure try. It's so frustrating, and I know since we disappear. We disappeared.
Disappeared again. This thing is the second time this happened. I bet they can still hear us.
Of course they can still hear
us.
But we disappeared. Not again. Not a camera trick. Not a camera trick.
Yo, they be like, yo, they on some voodoo.
I have voodoo. Yeah, I have no idea.
This is the second time it happened.
Yeah,
we don't know what causes it.
No. Software is running seemingly well.
There we go. We're back.
Yeah, we pulling a prank on you. Anyway, yeah. So when I hear all the, like I said, all these people engaging in these disingenuous arguments, you know, I'm so much more like jaded. You know?
Yeah, because like I don't care if you voted for Trump. I do care. Yes, all right. Like I like there's a part of me that understands. We live in a two-party system. You're a damn Republican.
Yeah.
You felt the need. You got to vote for Republican. You're not going to vote for a Democrat or ever. You're not going to vote for Hillary Clinton. I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm not fine with it. That's still whack because we live in this kind of false dichotomy like that. But I understand it at least.
Yeah.
But simply because you voted for Donald Trump doesn't mean you make shit up.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to excuse everything.
It
You
doesn't
vote
mean-
for him. You're Republican. You voted for a Republican. Yeah. He won a nomination. Fine. But like, what brings about the need to make things up and create false narratives as to why you support this man and create like all the excuses up and down the board.
All the
excuses when he does something that's obviously dumb. And he
not
puts his foot in his mouth.
And not just dumb, I'm hurtful, when oppressive, hateful, bigoted, xenophobic, all of this. Like you said, you understand a Republican voting for a Republican simply because that's happened throughout the course of time. Please, whatever.
That's fine.
Republicans vote for Republicans, but when that Republican is Donald Trump and he does what he does, we hear his supporters always say he's not racist, he's not racist, he's not racist. If that was the case, fine. We wouldn't call somebody a racist that was not engaging in racism. Because that's not what we do, and a lot of people don't do that as well. There are some times where people make a case for racism where it doesn't exist. Yes, it happens. Does it stand for the majority of situations? Absolutely not. Usually, when it's called racism, it's usually racism. There's usually merit in the call of racism. And with Donald Trump, the call is accurate here. Not just here. There are many instances that he is involved in something, but here it is very, very clear. There's a long track record, and that's why we opened the show with saying that is not just about Trump. He is not the only one that has used this language. It goes back for decades and centuries.
Yep.
So if he's not the only one, and it was racist for other people, then it's got to be racist for him because he's doing the same thing.
Because this is a standard issue conservative talking point and a position. Go back where you came from, or if you don't like it, leave. Go back to Africa. Go back to your country. That's actually typical.
Very typical.
So not to take
and very racist.
Yeah,
it's knowingly racist. Not it's not ambiguous. This is knowingly racist. But when Donald Trump does it, all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, it's kind of cloudy. He could have meant that you go back to your district.
You know what kind of tells me that deep down people understand that he's not doing anything for them? Deep down, in the back of their consciousness, they know that Trump is failing. Deep down, they know Trump is corrupt. Deep down, they know Trump is not different. Is when they have to invent vast conspiracies and vast fantasies about what he's here to do. Like, he's going to take down the global pedophile network. Or one talking point someone issued on our page. It's like, oh, he's fixing the economy. He fixed the economy. Or he's making us oil independent. I actually shared some graphs that kind of dispel that myth. But again, I understand where it comes from. You have to create something.
You have to.
You have to create something to justify your vote. And when there's nothing there and you know he's not really doing anything, he doesn't have any kind of, legislation to hang his hat on that speaks to his, him working for the people, then you have to invent these fantasies. You know what I'm saying? So.
Like I said, it's exhausting just dealing with this on a day-to-day basis. Some of these things that we've talked about today, and again, the responses, the defense of Trump, going through them, as I'm hearing them, I'm shutting my computer as I'm hearing them, and I don't even want to deal with it anymore. No, that's what I feel like from time to time. It's like, okay, I don't even want to hear this anymore.
I think I'll gauge how I interact based on one, like the initial comment, like usually an initial comment or initial response, right, to some sort of social media post, whether it's coming from you or some media outlet, and you have Trump supporters commenting. And actually, it's not just about Trump supporters. It could be somebody who's supporting any candidate. I kind of judge how I deal with them based on how ridiculous the comment is. There's nothing I can say that's going to alter this person. It's like, so I don't even get engaged. Yeah. Sometimes I'll, if I have a hard fact that somebody can't run away from, that I can prove, it's not just coming from my mouth, I have a source, I'll present the source, then I'll see how they respond. Then if they double down and completely ignore everything I said or the things I shared with them, I'm like, no, I'm out. I'm not responding. I don't have time.
But I understand what you're talking about, but I'm talking about people I can't have any correspondence with at all, too.
At all.
I'm talking about somebody like Trump, somebody like a Lindsey Graham, who I'm not talking to, and I can't challenge. Okay. When I hear their talking points, it's like, come on, you're just swimming in bullshit, and you know it. I know you're not that stupid. I know it because I heard what you said in 2015 about Donald Trump. That was before Donald Trump was president, and you said he was a race-baiting bigot,
a con,
xenophobic.
He wasn't conservative. He's
didn't represent the party. All of that, and now a few years later, all because he occupies the White House, now your opinion has changed. Oh, he's a terrific. I told him you're a great president. You've gotten rid of ISIL or ISIS or whatever he said, and blah blah. Really?
Didn't he say? Actually, now it's coming back to me. He said that he was going to be the first one to hold Trump accountable. He said, I was going to be the first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doesn't seem like he's done doing that at all.
Nah.
At all.
And like they said on The View, too, his popularity is soaring now.
Again, that's a big risk. He's in South Carolina, which may, work out for him. But depending on what happens to Trump, that may not work out for him. And
they've tied
themselves to him. So again, whatever happens to Trump is going to happen to them. So they're taking a big risk here.
I'm telling you, all right, I think it's a very great possibility that Trump is going to lose in 2020. I think he's going to lose, right? I could be wrong.
You just don't know who's going to lose.
Yes. If it's Biden, it's a lot less clear.
No.
It's a lot less clear. If it's anybody else, I think I'd be more shocked than I was in 2004 when Bush won re-election. I'd be that much. I'd be that shocked. And but still, damn. What you have?
You said you think he's not going to win the election in 2020.
Yeah, but I was going somewhere with it.
You'll be shocked. Biden. So had to Biden.
I completely lost it. You said something, and I completely lost it. I completely lost it, man.
Yeah, we'll see, man. Yeah, I just don't get it, man. I just don't get it. I think that's why they're going overdrive to kind of push this. These communists, they're communists and they're socialists. They're starting early because they know Trump is not doing well in the polls.
Graham, that's where it started with. All right, so all these politicians, all these Republicans that have tied their wagons, has hitched their wagons to Trump. Again, I think he's going to lose in 2020. If he loses, there's going to be a mass exodus. There are going to be so many Republicans trying to distance themselves from one Donald Trump. It's already starting to happen right now, especially for people that maybe lost the re-election or maybe did not even run for re-election. I saw that there is a book due to come out. I don't know if it has been released yet or not, but it's about the former Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, and how he had many disparaging comments about Donald Trump.
Oh, and like literally the day after this news came out, guess where Trump was? He was on Twitter, now calling Paul Ryan like a failure. Yes. And all those other words that Trump uses to describe people that like have any negative thing to say about him or don't, kneel down and kiss the ring.
Right. But it's gonna if he loses, it's gonna be damage control. It will have to be damage control because Trump will no longer be a thing. Trump is good and promoting himself. We talked about this before. Trump is great at promoting himself. It doesn't really extend to other people. So the Republican Party, of course, they have already seen this because in races where Trump has shown up, those candidates have lost. Not all the time, but a lot of times those candidates have lost.
And that's when he was president.
That's when he has been president.
During his presidency. So
they know that it doesn't extend to them. And when he's gone, there's no more Trump now. There's no more Trump effect. We're out of that age now. So what are you going to be? What kind of party are you going to be? Because now you're the party of Trump. You've ceased to become the Republican Party. You're the party of Trump
now.
So what are you going to be after Trump?
And you know what's so funny? They won't be able to live it down because the opposition will not let them, will not allow them to live it down.
Yeah.
Because once
we got video. We got tweets.
It's not just about video of Trump and video of Trump's tweets. There's video and a record of his entire party defending it.
Yep. Especially here as well. This is one of those situations. Like there have been many situations within the Trump presidency where, damn, it's been a bad look on Trump. It's been a bad look on the Republican Party. But again, we're still living in that era right now. We're still living in this administration. So they can get away with it because they're not ceding power to anybody right now. But once that's over, how are you gonna keep running? How are you gonna keep defending something that we already know to be objectionable, that we already know to be disgusting?
One thing I wish would occur a little bit more is respectful pushback from individuals who disagree with us on a point. Mm-hmm. I'm glad, I definitely appreciate our callers, and they do kind of add to the conversation, maybe issue some talking points or perspective that we couldn't or we didn't, and I like that. But I really wish, if there's like a serious disagreement about a particular point or a particular issue, I wish we had more callers. Because I see a lot of pushback in chat, from a certain person, that's Julia. And you got, people trying to, rationalize with you. I wish people like her would call in and actually be more vocal, so you can hear your voice and then hear our voices. Maybe that might help. Because sometimes when, we get to be like keyboard crusaders and internet wars, we have a little bit more juice in our fingers.
Oh, yeah.
And it's more anonymous, like something that's more formal, something that's more, it's not completely in your face, but now when you give a voice to your views, that kind of gives it more life. And you kind of, and if you have the opportunity to put that out there, I don't know why you wouldn't take that. So I'm kind of, if you're going to, be a part of this show, or watch the show, not only watch the show, comment, be in the chat, I wish that you would call up so we can hear that voice.
We're going on 2 years of doing this live show format where, we've always taken callers. And throughout this whole time, we've had many callers, many callers. And, we appreciate every single one of them. There have been a few where we have disagreed on certain points. I think, I'd probably say 99% of the calls and 99% of the issues, we probably have about the same type of, I guess, framing of an issue, the same type of opinion about an issue. Maybe we're coming at it from a different place, but, we're still looking at it in the same way. There haven't been many callers that have actually tried to challenge us on anything, and we welcome it. We say anybody can call. You don't have to agree with us at all. And there has been maybe, I think World Debt Now, I think World Debt Now has called in. I believe he voted for Trump. I think he still supports Trump. And it was a very, there have been respectful calls, and we have disagreed, and, and we love that opportunity to disagree, talk about the issues. And like you're saying, it just seems as when people do come into the chat and try to challenge our talking points or any of the other people that are viewing the show, their talking points, or just the way they see things, their ideology, why don't you make that verbal? Call in. The number is on the screen. Number is in the description area. Just call in and get that out.
It's just weird that I would say, like, the number of challenges that we've had to endure usually come from people that just watch the show. I remember, like you said, World Debt Now called, and then he had some disagreements, but the back and forth was very respectful.
Yeah.
I remember Jay Scott, he watches the show. He called in, had a disagreement about how we were dealing with Alabama?
Yeah, it was the whole abortion thing?
No, it wasn't abortion. It was the
castration.
Chemical
castration. That's
so
right.
Again, like I knew what place he was coming from. So I mean, he watches the show. We pretty much agree with most things, most issues.
Yeah.
I don't think I just think we agreed on the issue. We just had there were just some snags in the conversation that we had to
It's not like we're welcoming fights. Well, it's not that we're doing that. We will try to keep things peaceful and calm and just keep it as a debate, because again, we know that we're not everybody. We're no better than anybody else, and some people might have a different point of view. They may educate us about something. Many times callers say something where our mind wasn't going there. It happened even on this show, where it's like, damn, you know what? You brought something up we weren't even thinking of. So we love that. And if you do, disagree with us, take the opportunity to pick up the phone, make a free call. Everything's free now. I mean, you got a cell phone. You got to pay for long distance. Just call the number and be heard. Especially for those that really mix it up in the chat too. And not saying that there's anybody like that too. I can't say that right now because I haven't been able to really keep up with the chat. But still, there are some people that really get animated in the chat area and start with the demeaning and name calling and stuff like that. I would love those, especially, to give us a ring. I would love that. Yeah, because if you're gonna get, like I said, all puffy in the chest, and act like everything in the world and your position is righteous and valid and this and that, you should be able to say that too. Not just type it. You should.
Yeah, no, we're not saying that that's like particularly going on tonight.
Yeah, I can't say that for tonight. But
although we did like an hour before we even came online.
Oh yeah, we had a message waiting for us.
We had a message waiting for us. It was like,
somebody saying, "Oh, I would love to see how you say that anything that Trump says is racist." Well, we've said it before, so I mean, it's not like we have a problem laying that out.
You're basically saying, like, in so many words, there's nothing that he does is ever racist, and I want to see you guys say it while I just deny it, no matter what you say.
And that's what Steve Cortez was saying too on CNN with Anderson Cooper. The other guy, the columnist from New York Times, Wajahat Ali. what Cortez's gripe was that Ali had retweeted something and included a message saying that I think anybody at this point that is still supportive of Donald Trump is also racist. So that's where his gripe was, because he is a Trump supporter. Steve Cortez is a Trump supporter. So he felt that was racist. And so he was calling Ali racist, doing the whole thing that you talked about. And so Ali's like, okay, so calling out racist is racism. Yeah, I got you. Okay, let me, I'll remember that. I'm gonna dismiss that and keep going. It's a crazy thing. He was like, you're really trying to diminish all of our voices. That's what Cortez was saying. You're trying to disenfranchise everybody, all the Trump supporters. All of us. What he said, all of us deplorables and this and that, and you dehumanizing us, and lessening our voices and calling us racist. We're not racist. I'm not racist. And if you're supportive of a racist, what does that make you? And I think Ali came, at the end, he was like, you know what? Maybe I won't say that you're racist, but you're definitely supportive of somebody that's racist, and that does make you complicit.
At least.
So I don't. Yeah.
At least. At
the very least.
At least complicit.
I don't know how you draw the distinctions. Are you racist? Or are you supportive of racist? Is it the same? Is it not the same?
And again, it's just like any other claim. All claims of racism are valid. That's fine. Like any claim of racism can be challenged, and simply because someone is, labeled as one or called one because they said something, doesn't always make it valid. Every single claim of racism is not valid, but it's the claim nonetheless. People make claims every day, all day, surrounding many different subjects. That's not a new thing. People make claims.
Yeah.
That's it. So the point is not to deal with the amount of claims or what type of claim it is and be mad about it. The point is to direct or to address the subject head on. You see what I'm saying? And you don't ignore actual moments and actual racist behavior simply because maybe some people made some claims that were not true or maybe unwarranted. Are there, claims that are made specifically about racism that may be unwarranted? Yes, but that doesn't mean you ignore those that are not.
True, and that's the heart of it right there. And there was at least one time where we did highlight that it was a black woman.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember what state it was in. Yeah. I tried to find the video. I'm gonna have to see what I can do to find it. But it was a black woman that felt her encounter with a white police officer was like combative, and not just combative in that she thought she shouldn't have been pulled over. She thought she was pulled over because of her race, and it was unjust, and he was being racist and very aggressive and this and that.
And we saw the body cam. We were like,
a day later, they came out quick with the body cam footage, and it wasn't racist. It wasn't racist. Actually, the officer did everything he was supposed to do. I didn't have a complaint in the world about the officer.
So now that situation is going to cause you to ignore actual racism, right?
Yeah, because she lied about racism. So real racism, we can't talk about that anymore. Can't even talk about that. Can't even discuss it, man. But anyway, we're gonna wrap this up. Let's get to some super chat. Get to some super chat.
Yeah, let's get to some super chat.
Let's get to some super chat. All right, so we got Gaillard in the super chat contribution. It's getting old, man. It's like, no, it's not getting old, man. But no, he's a very loyal contributor and supporter of ours. Thank you very much, Gaillard. Ben out front, who also called in. Mike and Will always out front. Keep up the good work. Appreciate that. Much love. Cat Dooley. Ben out front again. Get your friends, family enrolled. Vote.gov. No doubt. We'll definitely highlight that on future shows. No doubt. Artificial Morphous Man.
That's what. Dog, I just spit. No, that's.
I think that was a Psalm. Was that a Psalm or was that Christopher?
No. That's either
because he called in.
That might have been that. No, that was Christopher. No.
It could have been a song.
It could have been. No, yeah, it might have been a song.
I don't know. I can't remember. But he did call in. I can't remember if it was Christopher or a song though. Anyway, but he said you guys are awesome. Need more exposure. TBTV had like 700 views live tonight. You guys deserve more. How can we help? How can you help, man? You can subscribe to the channel if you aren't already subscribed. You can click that bell. You can also share our content. Facebook is something that we're not very active on, but yet we do post from time to time. Same thing with Twitter. We post from time to time. Usually, YouTube is where it's at. And I recently, I think it was last week that we will be, going back to cutting, some of this, these videos up, so they can be in smaller segments. But yeah, you can just share our content, get the word out. We would love to have, an audience that is larger, no doubt. We would love to have more callers, involved, just more involvement and more engagement.
Yeah, more engagement. And like I said, trolls, they can stay in the chat. I'm fine with that. But they'll just stay in the chat. We really can't do anything about trolls.
We welcome you to call in.
Unless they're being completely, abrasive and antagonistic for no reason, just being trolls. Yeah, that's when you get blocked. But we're not going to block you just for disagreeing with people in our chat or maybe being disagreeable with something we have to say. We will not block you because of that. But what we don't like is people just showing up and being human incendiary devices. That's what we don't like. Offering bad faith arguments and just trying to not have constructive conversations and be snide and be condescending. That's what really gets under my skin.
All right. Also, we have Aaron Barnett, who goes back a long way with us. Still my favorite show online. I wish I had more opportunity to experience it live. Looking forward to more good commentary from Mike and Will in the future. Remember the beginning. Patreon people. No doubt. We definitely want to highlight our Patreon as well. We do have a Patreon account. It is patreon.com/LTMB. If you would like to become a patron of ours, feel free to. We appreciate all of our patrons, everybody that contributes money to us as well, contributes time. If you don't have money to give, you give us your time by watching, by chatting, by calling us in. We appreciate it all because it all has an effect on promoting the show and making it what it is. So we appreciate all of you, all of our callers tonight as well. Sharon, Christopher, Nene, Assam, Jordan, and Ben. We appreciate you, involving yourself in the discussion, getting involved. Like to hear your voices. Can't just have me and Mike talking all the time.
True that. And also shout out to individuals that watch our show that actually have their own channels, their own platforms.
Oh yeah.
That I guess they make content, content for political content. I think one of them is sharing information. So yeah. So again, you're taking time out.
Sure. Other one, Jason from Detroit.
Jason from Detroit. So that's the only two I know. So we got Sharon Formation and Jason from Detroit.
Right.
I know Sharon's still watching. Not sure if Jason's still on the chat. But yeah, they make their own content too. So, making time to watch other people's content sometimes can be hard to fit in. So we appreciate you. But like both of y'all's videos, I checked out some of your content, Sharon, and I checked out some of Jason from Detroit.
Yeah.
I checked out some of his content. It's on point. So I mean, I like what I heard.
The last video I saw was from Jason on his channel, and it was a critical video.
A critical video of another YouTuber that kind of puts out content.
Kim Iverson. Yeah, it was about Kim Iverson. One of her videos that she talked about. Was it Biden?
No.
It wasn't about Biden? Well, I thought Biden was involved in that one.
It was about Democrats being more dangerous. It was about Democrats being more dangerous. And
Trump. Yeah. Democrats being more dangerous than Trump. Yes. I think she also did a video. But anyway,
she probably did a video.
Yeah. But yeah, this one was about that subject.
I was really impressed.
Danger.
I was really impressed at how he dealt with everything from point to point.
It was a good video.
Yeah.
Very good video. Yeah. So yeah, check him out too. But yeah, we're gonna get up out of here. Appreciate everybody that made it for this program. Everybody in the chat, everybody that called in, we appreciate it. We'll be back on Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, just let the madness begin. All right. Peace out, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.